Hey, my dog is actually tripping at the moment. I really need to kind of take him out like in an emergency kind of way. So I'll be right back. But here you're co-host, so you might bring people up and whatnot. Cool. I am gonna go ahead and where are you, Shane? There you, Shane. So yeah, my dog's having a bit of a moment right now, so I need to take him out real quick. But yeah, you mind kind of taking over for me for a minute?
I'm good to go. I'm just grabbing my coffee.
Good times. Good to see you, Sonic. I haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, man.
And yeah,
It's great to catch up. I have been like dropping in and listening to, some of your discussions and stuff. But usually like if I don't have time, like I don't like ask to speak or anything, but I play guys in the background and listen.
Hell yeah, dude. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You guys got some really good topics. Really good topics.
oh man, I don't know about that. We mostly just bullshit.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
we
but
do.
like those,
But
the stuff with, I just got really into like the pyramids and how they're concrete and like, I mean, it's real, for me, like I'm really I'm having a hard time not seeing how we're like an exoplanet colony. I mean, like in a legit like sense, like just like logically. And so, you know, when you look at like you're talking about like I listened to you about like some kind of bioevolution, how like humans have Rh positive blood and we're like the only species, us and one other like monkey has that kind of blood, so that, I mean, that tells you that we're fundamentally different from most of the things that evolved on this planet. So it's just, when you look at the pyramids and there's research that says they're made out of concrete and there's no way there's nanosilicate concrete in the technology of the Egyptian people. It's just, and then you got this stuff about Atlantis I saw, man, I'm all over that. I did an episode on that.
Sonic, I can go on about the pyramids for days, dude. Like, have you ever heard me going about Ark of the Covenant stuff, dude?
Yeah, like you're talking about like how there's like Tesla applications or something. Yeah, I mean, like that was one of the things I was listening to. I never heard that before, man. It was really interesting.
Yeah, dude. We got on Gigi's show shift happening, and it ended up becoming about the Ark of the Covenant, Coral Castle, real quick.
Is that your theory that it's like some kind of Tesla, like energy generator?
It was an electric. It was an electric generator using mana. If you look into the 1500s before Christ, when they had the ark, the first guy to ever get zapped by it was named like Ishmael, or it was a priest, and he got literally electrocuted into the next week. And then it wasn't until the Phoenicians or the Babylonians took the ark the first time and they gave it back that they started getting boils and blisters and things like that because of the amount of electricity and like radiation it was giving off. So the ark's crazy. Plus, it fits directly in the box in the Great Pyramid, like perfectly. Like the exact dimensions of the ark fit exactly into the box in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. So it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot there that is really hard to ignore. I mean, if you just logically, like, you can disagree with it, but you can't really disagree with the plausibility of it. You see what I mean? You know what I mean?
Dude, I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to think that there's a pyramid underneath Skinwalker Ranch. So, Carl, have you seen anything like that out there? Like anything Phoenician or like Egyptian
Well,
or just weird?
here's the whole thing. If you guys go watch my whole recent YouTube series that I'm doing, not to try and just plug myself, but the whole thing is this like canyon. It's called the Warner Valley Canyon, and I'm being taught by these Navajo elders that all the petroglyphs there tell this story of like the great feathered serpent and all these and this migration that goes all the way back to the time of Montezuma, and it was this energetic like psychic connection that went all the way through the pyramids and everything. Like that's what they were doing. And there are petroglyphs all over up that canyon that I'd swear to you look like strange figures carrying the Ark of the Covenant. I'm not even going to lie. And there's ones that look like that. And I even had one of my kind of mentors tell me, he's like, I don't know, that one looks like the Ark of the Covenant. And he's like even telling me a different kind of story, but I don't know it. And they look like people carrying boxes in the proper shape, like described. And then it looks like these either ladders shooting up out of the top or those wavy serpent lines, coming out of the top. And then there's always these spiral portals and figures and stuff standing, and it gets all kinds of strange. It's funny because when you look into it at first, like when you think about going to these places, on the brochures and online, they only show you pictures of like the carvings of a goat or something. But then when you actually go there and look around, you're like, oh wow, it's like this whole interconnected story with the same figures, even from Skinwalker Ranch all the way down to southern Utah into Nevada, clear over by the Grand Canyon. It's like,
are you talking about the figures with like the big feet and like the six toes and all that?
yeah, a lot of that. A lot of different variations of that. And then that box, getting carried around too. But at Skinwalker Ranch, I don't know anything to do with the Ark of the Covenant and stuff other than there was ancient trade routes that go all the way back to the Aztec Empire and even further. I mean, there's artifacts up there. I know of a petroglyph site that I haven't filmed or shown anybody yet where there's people carved where they're killing a woolly mammoth in the carvings. They're old stuff. There's some that look like there's people actually riding on dinosaurs that I haven't shared with anybody yet. I shared one picture. No, I actually haven't shared that one yet. But it's weird, man. I don't know. I think
Hey,
the
Carl,
history
you want to go
is.
ahead and take a co-host seat because it helps boost your signal if you're one of the co-hosts, I think. And since your voice is, the main one we want to hear, I think that'll help.
Sure, I don't mind.
Cool. Hey, Connor, I'm just going to take you down for a moment, brother, just so he can get his thing up here. All right. Can you see it on your screen?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. Go ahead.
So so Scott Walter says that the Phoenicians came through the North Americas looking for copper, and that perhaps the Templar came, around the 1300s, 1307-ish, I think, whenever they got the Friday 13th happened, and that they brought through the trade routes that were already established, like you were just saying. So that just kind of lines up for me.
Yeah, and so I've seen carvings, petroglyphs in a slot canyon near a place called Snow Canyon, where it looks like a Phoenician boat, and there's like carvings that definitely look Phoenician or Egyptian, and then you go up around Skinwalker Ranch and that area, and you've got pictographs and stuff that look like they're people wearing, Aztec garments and jewelry, and the way that they're dressed, and even the stories and the locals and some of the oral traditions around it all fit with that, and they go back to the time of Montezuma and everything and beyond that. And so it is fascinating. And Brandon Fugel, they just found new petroglyphs right there on Skinwalker Ranch. I was allowed to go there with Chris Bartell and myself and Thomas Winterton right at sunset had about 1 hour where I was able to go in a UTV with him, and we drove out and we ran up on the hill and looked at where they thought maybe petroglyphs were. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, there's definitely stuff here. And so I took some pictures and tried to do as best as I could, but Brandon was able to bring in a LiDAR drone scanning team, and they did find that there's actually a whole panel of petroglyphs there, and he's only released like a small part of it, but there's a whole bunch more coming out probably on the TV show.
Holy shit, dude! Thank you for that. I think Pip had some questions for you.
You know that place? I think it's like in South America or something. They have these rocks or like cave. I don't know if they're cave drawings, but they're definitely rocks with like people pictured as like riding dinosaurs and like doing surgeries and stuff like that. Do you know the place?
That's Father Crespi. That's Father Crespi's plates, Logan.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is really fascinating to me, and it seems like the most majority of it is either, you know, in really hard to reach places, or like in America, they're all locked in behind reservation land and stuff. And so unless you know somebody or you're shown a secret or whatever, you're never going to know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there too that isn't in reservations. And kind of like what I get excited about is when I go to like a spot that it seems like there's not much there, and then I'll actually like sit and meditate, try to connect with the place, and I start following my intuition. I try to get into that same sort of migration, and then I'll walk along and I'll end up finding stuff that like is not even really known, you know. And so I'll walk around. That's what I like to do, is I go and connect, and then I start exploring kind of out of bounds, you know. And then you run into stuff that you can't really explain. And then you wonder, like, does anybody else even know that this is here, you know? But it's fascinating to me how it all connects with the whole UFO phenomena, and how that blends in also with supernatural events and our new understanding that's starting to come out with how consciousness is like non-local to the brain and to just the body, and how these sort of things that used to be considered all like just within our skulls are actually interfaced with reality in a quantum way, and that can maybe even extend through the rules and boundaries of space-time in ways we don't understand. And so maybe we can get answers to all this stuff now. But it is fascinating, and it does seem to connect to Skinwalker Ranch and some of these places that at least have been researched by the same groups of people that have gone from one hot spot to another trying to get answers.
Carl?
Sweet. Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, let's go ahead and get to Randy and Tiff after him. Yeah, and anyone else that wants to come up here and like talk or just ask a question, you can feel free to come up here.
Carl, I know, Brandon, I've been to Skinwalker Ranch. There's that altar table there. Have you seen that on Skinwalker Ranch? I know Brandon.
Are you talking about the indigenous stone altar thing?
Yes. Do you think that was like a sacrificial table, maybe?
You know, I haven't really told anybody this. I think around Homestead 2, there's like a circle of trees that's probably maybe, I don't know, 80 feet across or something like that, that almost looks like there was like a little stone wall built around the house. And I almost wonder if the Sherman family, when they moved onto the property, were like, oh, look, there's like this little stone stacked wall here. We'll just build our house in the middle. And they built their house right in the center of a Native American ritual prayer circle.
Exactly.
And I think on top of the mesa, closer to the east side of the ranch, is even older. It almost looks like a Stonehenge, but the center stone has been toppled over or pushed out of alignment. And there's other stuff like that. And talking to Chris Bartell, who was, like on the security team for 6 years there, he's like one of my best friends now. But his whole time patrolling there was like constantly finding arrowheads and artifacts and all that. And to me, the most compelling episode of the whole show and anything that's gone on there, and what I've talked to them guys about the most, including Brandon, was when they brought the rabbi in and they recreated the stone circle and they did the meditation playing the music, and then they had that weird inversion over over the
Yes.
homestead. And
Did you see the?
to me, that was the most significant thing that they've done there.
Hey, go ahead, Tiff. And also that's that thing you said about like they found like these stone circles and like it's kind of made a home around it. It reminded me of like that show Lost. Do you remember that show back in the day? That's kind of like what they did on the island, I feel like.
When that
Go ahead, Tiff.
Yeah, there's something to do with these medicine wheels or stone circles where they stack them in alignment with the North Star or with Polaris, and then with the cardinal directions. And there's usually two, and sometimes one is bigger than the other. And it has to do with certain spiritual ceremonies that you did, and like chanting or singing as you went either clockwise or counterclockwise in a particular pattern. So there is like a whole formula. I've been researching this for a couple of years now, trying to figure it out. But the idea was you go around these wheels clockwise or counterclockwise while you're meditating and looking up at the North Star and the whole rotation of the solar system and everything. And the idea was that you basically step out of space-time into alternate dimensions, or turn invisible, or go through portals to other places, like doorways, like quantum leap into other places and back. And apparently humans aren't the only ones that know how to do this, and this network extends into other places in the universe and other dimensions of reality. And so we're not really alone. So this idea that these ancient indigenous people kind of naturally discovered this as a way of their life is kind of what we're trying to figure out. And then that's sort of the same thing that was they're trying to explore at Skinwalker Ranch, but they're doing it almost like techno shaman with remote viewing and using lasers and all kinds of modern scientific equipment and people out of like Stanford and stuff to try and get to the bottom of it, rather than just, you know, having visions and experiences like that instead.
Yeah, I really don't like the accusations against Brandon. I've talked to him a few times. He's so down to earth, so level headed, and I think he's doing his best to find out what's going on there. It's crazy.
I agree. I think Brandon he's putting a lot into the ranch. He's probably spent way more, and he's not made anything off of it, honestly, as much as he is successful. But every conversation that I've had with him, if there's anything like alternative going on, like let's say back during Bigelow's era, there was like other types of like psychic research or going on, or experiments happening there, you know, like, I don't know, Brandon inherited all that and he's trying to sort it out just like everybody else. And that's been my impression. And when he's talked to me, or when I've been able to work with him and he's invited me to do stuff, it's not even for the TV show or anything like that. It's because he's like asking me to go with some of the other guys to go help them figure stuff out completely like off the record. Like we'll go up and into caves and look underground and use metal detectors and go all over. And that's like, we don't even want the History Channel to know that we're doing that, because then we get told to stop, right? So like Brandon has us doing all this weird covert stuff on the side. And part of that's how I wound up at Mount Wilson Ranch and working there too, is the connections of trying to understand what everybody was doing researching Mount Wilson Ranch, and then why they basically left that place and dumped it on my friend Jeff, almost like they were scared, and dumped it on him. And then they went up to Vernal and started Skinwalker. And so we've been trying to piece it all together. And I think Brandon's kind of in the same boat and putting a lot into it. But he is like, you know, he loves that he's got a TV show. He likes that whole Bruce Wayne Batman look. You know, he likes to drive the fancy cars and collect the movie memorabilia. And I can't blame him. It's just part of him, you know. It's just the way he is.
Well, I just want to say one more thing about that real quick. Yeah, he's worth $500 million, and he owns every movie memorabilia there is. So the fact that people think he'd be grifting for that is absolutely mind-numbing to me.
Yeah, he'll call me at like 3 a.m. and he's like, dude, I was just watching your YouTube video and and he talks to me like he's just like a buddy, like totally down to earth, asking me my opinion, values my opinion, wants to know what I think. He doesn't care at all about how much money he makes. He just happens to be in that position.
That guy's hilarious. And he's just like, as legendary as he is, he's just like um, he'll just talk to like the lowest person on like the totem pole, just like any regular person. That's really awesome of him. Tiff, did you ask your question you wanted to?
Not yet. I have one in relation to this. So you were raised Mormon. You've controversial kind of upbringing to what you're interested in now. What kind of initiated your consciousness journey? Obviously, I mean, a religion is a form of having your mind open to things like that. But what pushed you in the direction that you're going in now? And then I have one more question after.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like over the course of my life, what I was being taught through Mormonism had too many inconsistencies, and it was an unreliable source of truth for what I was actually experiencing in reality. So I was like a kid growing up with different sleep paralysis issues and seeing shadow figures in my room and different things like that, and having no basis of good understanding for it. And the methods and the ways that I was taught to deal with that through the religion were not helpful. They were more fear-based and guilt-based, and always focused on like, well, what did I do wrong that caused these evil entities to come and torment me, and I should just be a better person. And I felt like it had nothing to do with that in my life. And so that was always a conflict for me, that I just sort of stuffed inside myself and stuffed in my face with food. And I actually was very depressed and living a lie for most of my life. And I gained I was up to 400 pounds at one point. And I just had this awakening, sort of like when my dad got dementia and started to struggle with that. And that made me realize, first of all, that like all of the things that the religion were supposed to provide and do all of this had not really panned out for me. But most of all, I got really curious to wonder like what his experience was like in reality, and how do I cope with this? And is he in the afterlife, or is he still in there? Is he in some sort of a dream reality, or what is he in this astral plane? Or I couldn't make sense of what he was going through, trying to put myself inside his experience for 3 years, going through that. And so watching my dad go through dementia, and then, you go through these experiences. I went through a divorce. I realized, I became like self-aware of how overweight I was. I was losing my father. All of it just started to become like what they call this long, dark night of the soul, where I really just suddenly had to see myself and wake up out of the hypnosis and clean up all my messes. And so, but really, a lot of it was just reconciling experiences that I've had. I mean, I even had a very strange, what at the time I thought was a Bigfoot encounter, like a Sasquatch encounter in Northern California, when I was on a film crew filming for a documentary up there. And we got scared to death, and half the film crew left. And like now I look back on it with a different understanding, like it was almost more like a paranormal skinwalker sort of experience, more than just like a Bigfoot. But it was like straight up fits the category of a Bigfoot encounter. But some of those things over time in my life just did not jive and fit with the teachings of the church and what I was taught. And when I really looked at it, the origins and the founders of the church, they started doing everything using crystal balls and seer stones and magic, esoteric methods, like almost like Enochian magics and stuff like that, to translate ancient records and things. And they were all into this Egyptian esoteric stuff, and the Masonic secrets are all embedded into the temple ceremonies. And I had been to the temple and I could see all that. And so to me, I just like started seeing those discrepancies and facing them head on. And so I lost like 175 pounds. I got Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now book. I started reading all the Alan Watts stuff. I just got into this guy named Muji. I read Ramana Maharshi, like a bunch of meditation books, and just really went for it. And then started having these experiences at these indigenous locations that were giving me answers, but also more questions. And have just kind of put me on this path now. And I just find myself having this whole life of experiences, and having the experience with the church and now outside of the church, and being able to reflect on the two, and being able to just focus on what's the actual truth in the middle that everyone is experiencing regardless of how you're brought up. What is at the substrate or the foundation of this. And so that's what I'm all about. It doesn't matter how scary it is, if it's demons or devils or aliens, or if it has to do with religious misunderstandings or whatever. I'm kind of like, when it comes time for each of us to die, or if I get Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever, like I saw my father go through, all of us either have to free fall into that blind, or we have to kind of like face it and start learning like a Jedi how you're going to navigate that. And if you're going to try to understand exactly what we're dealing with here in reality and what's coming. And so that's just what I'm trying to do.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. I'm sorry, Logan.
Yeah, that was super powerful. And it's funny because you're just describing faith in the end. It just may not be the faith that your family wants. And this is coming from people who their religion's based on communing with angels and having faith. And so there's not really that much difference, but manifestation, meditation, all that stuff really changed my life. More so than
See, I
anything
figured
else.
like what I figured out was these subtleties, like these little things. Like I was raised, like my flavor of faith was really based on like hoping, like really having like a sense of yearning and hoping. And once I started getting into actually like how manifestation works, almost with paradoxes and things, I realized that like if you're not careful, having faith and have like really, really hoping is kind of an energy of like needing and lacking and wanting. Like I don't have this and I'm really hoping for it. And really you're just sort of putting out an energy of lacking that you can't ever resolve, and you keep chasing your tail. And I feel like my upbringing in Mormonism was just this big pyramid of nothing but that, just going around dead end mazes like that over and over. And once I got out of it, I felt like suddenly I, could explore my own inner self and consciousness at all those different subtle levels, and realize that like hoping for things is really kind of a needy feeling. And so it's better just to be like grateful in the now and just not judgmental, and just have a different idea about faith, more actual trust, right? Like instead of a needy trust, if that makes sense. So all of that has become life-changing for me, and also changed my experiences in these places when I go and actually do work. Like I feel like I have a lot more control. I have a whole system in place. I have a whole methodology. I have a whole framework. I've created my own audio meditations and a whole, almost like a workshop that I put myself through before and during and after, that's based on everything I'm being taught from my Native American teachers, all the way up through my own experiences, everything I've read, all combined into what I figured out reading CIA files and going through the gateway stuff that the Monroe Institute teaches, and trying to learn remote viewing, and just seeing like how does all of that actually fit together, and what does it mean with all this weird stuff that people are experiencing. And because I actually have a background in social work too. I used to do mental health counseling in a juvenile correction center. I did work in the juvenile courts with schizophrenic teenager kids. And so dealing with people that were experiencing other voices in their head and dimensions of reality, and then seeing my father go through stuff, is just something that I have been aware of and faced from a different perspective than a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, you sound incredibly empathetic. Thank you so much for answering my questions about that. I have so many more, but there's a lot of hands. Are you familiar with Gregory Little, Dr. Gregory Little?
I might be. I suck so bad at names, though. I bet if I like.
He works on mounds, the Native American mounds.
Yeah.
He co-wrote the Mound Encyclopedia that just recently came out. But what you're saying about your discoveries on Skinwalker and stuff like that, they keep making me think of Gregory Little. So I'll DM you a link to his profile. He got me so obsessed with this whole like mound topic. So yeah, I'll link that.
Part of my actual leaving Mormonism originally, when it was like a balloon popping in my mind, when I was like, wait, the only way this makes sense is if it's fake, if it's not real. And that was actually because of a mound building story. There's one story in church history where Joseph Smith and a few of the other leaders of the church, they were like moving west to move towards Nauvoo, Illinois. and they came across this mound, a Native American mound, and they nicknamed it Zelph's Mound, Zelph. And they claimed, Joseph Smith said that he knew that this was a Lamanite, some ancient Jewish warrior who was like 10 foot tall. So it was like a giant. They claimed that they dug it up. It was the body of a giant. It was like 10 feet tall. And it had been had a spearhead stuck in its chest, like it had been killed by a spear, but it was dressed in all this armor and all this stuff. Anyway, they made up this whole story that this was a Lamanite and it fit with the Book of Mormon and Mormon history and all that stuff. And so I started thinking, well, why doesn't the church just do a DNA test on this mound and prove that the church history and the Book of Mormon is all true? And so I started asking this Mormon group about that at BYU and just got in a whole big argument with them about it. And that was when it really hit me in the face that these guys were all lying. They were lying to me. They did not want to do the DNA because they knew none of it fit, and then that was when I started going down a totally different path.
Thank God for that, man. Let's go with who was next, Logan? Do you know? Let's go with Ronnie. Yeah, okay.
Hey man, how you doing?
Doing good, dude. How you doing? We've had some crazy talks, man. I know. We've had some good podcasts on my Carl Vibe YouTube, by the way. You should go check them out, anybody listening.
Hey man, it's really good to hear your voice. Hey, so all the things that you do, and like when I watch your channel and everything, I'm just like, man, like that totally fits. I'm totally into that. Like I get it. And so, and we've talked about like the hologram, right? Living on a hologram in the holographic universe.
Yeah.
And how but what I realized was that like if we're on the hologram, right, then there's no distance, right? Everything, when you face something head on, right, it is necessarily right next to you if you're facing it directly.
Right.
You know what I mean? It can't, because if depth is resolution on the hologram, just a smaller dot, right? Then everything whatever you're facing right at is right in front of you, physically right in front of you, even if it's, just small, right? Because if it's on a hologram, if you're looking straight out like a million miles away, it's still right in front of your face. It's just like a little teeny dot in front of you.
Right. It's actually right at the surface tension of it where it's interfacing, but we perceive it with some sort of like a Doppler effect where we push that awareness out in front of us three-dimensionally into a virtual reality that we perceive as like a actual environment that we move around in.
But it's legitimately actually right next to us. It's totally, it is where we are. Like everything, you know what I mean? If we're on a hologram, distance is nothing. Like if you're facing it. And so my question is when you do your remote viewing, is a critical component of what it is facing directly towards that which you want to see.
Yeah, but it's paradoxical in a way that your focusing is done through clarity of intention and thought, and it has to do with setting up the way that you package the quality of the remote viewing target beforehand in a clean way so that you are looking in the right direction with the right qualities, if that makes sense. I'm somehow able to haphazardly get through it almost with a form of like synesthesia where my senses can get crossed and I can almost follow it more through intuition where I need a little bit less protocol. But yeah, to me, it's like, just like you said, it's like realizing that the entirety of the universe and the Akashic records and everything that's ever happened in the past and the future is really just a speck within yourself. Like the Big Bang is all inverted and it's really contained within you as an individual. And so what you have to do is sort of go within yourself and focus like a lens and explore through that in order to understand what you normally wouldn't be able to see. Because in your day-to-day linear timeline, you're basically stuck in a default mode where you're just have the pair of glasses on that you're stuck within your physical body. And so it's a challenge to try and get outside of that. But yeah, it's like yeah, it's like all within yourself, and you have to focus your own consciousness and awareness like you would focus a lens into the distance or into a closer proximity, but really you're going through quantum.
Yeah, I mean, you're just focusing your consciousness, right, at a different resolution, right? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
and if
saying?
you have
You
the
cut out. Let me
package
see.
of the target, yeah, sorry, I had a phone call try to come in, but yeah, it's kind of just like knowing your coordinates ahead of time are going to put you on target better. But honestly, it is all counterintuitive because the less you know going in, the clearer it is. It's all backwards. It's all mirrored, and so that's really
Oh, because you force it, you get it wrong if you try to force it.
100%,
Is that why?
100%. As soon as
Yeah.
you push on it, it goes the other way. So a really counterintuitive thing, just like we were talking earlier about sometimes like hoping for something is really a needing energy and it just puts a straitjacket on what you're doing. So you're talking about a non-physical reality where the rules are all like a mirror. So they work kind of different. So you're focusing on where you're trying to go almost goes better if you know less. Like if you wanted me to remote view a specific event in time, the way that you put that target together, it's almost better if all I know is like an 8-digit number that you give me and nothing else. But if you start to talk about kind of what it's about, it's going to screw me up. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but it's just somehow um,
You pee in the pool, right? If you don't do it organically, if you get artificial, you mess it up.
yes. Yeah. They call it, what do they call it? Some like cognitive overlay or something like that, where you basically make an assumption and overlay it. So like as soon as you smell something sour, your mind wants to say, smells like a lemon. I must be on a lemon farm, and it wants to jump to the conclusion and pin the tail on the donkey with a big assumption right off the bat. So it's better to stay more open, um, if that makes sense, rather than get yeah. And so all of that is in
Dude,
how you
totally.
approach it. But you're right. It's fundamentally the reason that we're blind to all of these abilities is because it's all inverted in the approach and the way that you actually go into it once you get it. And everything that we're talking about weirdly fits in with all these ancient Hindu and Buddhist principles of oneness and Advaita Vedanta and this idea of non-duality. All of it fits.
Yeah, because dude, when you say you got to look inside yourself, like, you know, like before I would have thought, oh, that's just like foo-foo kind of like, you know, Star Child and all this other kind of stuff. No, but it's like legitly,
Yes,
literally, like it's in you. It is in you.
100%. It's all.
I mean,
It's an
yeah,
inverted illusion. It's like you. It's like the prism is within yourself. You're never going to get it by looking outside. You can get a sense because of the clues of everything, the patterns and the geometry that you go when you explore the hologram, but all you're looking at is the reflection, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the one thing, like, this is the last thing I want to share with you is that, so my wife, yeah, Ashley's doing this dog watching thing, right? And so it's like Rover or something where they pay you to like watch dogs at your house or whatever. And so we had all these dogs over, and so Christmas was like this huge game of who farted, you know what I mean? And so,
Right.
and so, but here's the thing, and this is where I started thinking about senses are actually quantum, and we're on the hologram, which means everything is right next to us. Period. End of story. Was because I have a pretty big house, and so I was in the kitchen, and I was probably 35 feet away from the living room, and ours is a big open plan kind of thing. And this dog was so gassy. This fucking dog would just fart,
Yeah.
and like it would knock you out. It would totally knock you out. And so I was in the kitchen, and I heard the dog fart. A second later, it horrified my nose. In less than a second, the smell hit me. And I went, oh my God. And Ashley was like, oh my God. And I was like, hey, when did you smell that? When did you smell that? And she said that she smelt it just before I said something.
Right.
And I smelled it just a nanosecond after I heard it. Okay. So what that means is that smell. I used to think, oh, it kind of drifts in the air and the air gets no, 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 no. Like it's right here. It's next to you. Like there's no way for that smell to get to me
Right.
unless if it was a quantum. I don't know if it's charge. I don't know if it's spin, but it has to, all our senses, I'm convinced, have to be related to a quantum property. And that quantum property is in a field, and that field is on a hologram, and it's all right next to us all the time. So if I can smell something 40 feet away instantly,
Right.
that means everything in the universe is detectable instantly. I mean, theoretically.
And the same thing, really, like if you went out at night and looked up at the stars, and if you look up at the sky and look at a star and you say, well, where is that seeing of the star actually happening? So is it occurring where the photons are leaving that star like thousands of or millions of light years away or whatever? Is the seeing happening in the wave form across space time, or is it happening where it actually touches the pupil of my eye, or is it happening in my occipital lobe? And once you realize you can't actually draw a line of where that seeing is occurring, you realize it's an interface that's occurring as a oneness. It's a unified interface experience that really only has the illusion of being out there in the distance as sort of just like an evolutionary property in order for us to explore ourselves in some way. But it's like, yeah, it really is all present and one and in the now. Yeah.
Carl, is that the first time you've ever heard of someone having a spiritual awakening based on a dog fart?
Yeah, man. There's all of it's going to be a different reflection in a different way. It's the same.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was totally in on it. I believe him. I couldn't believe it. That's the first time I've ever heard that. That was great, Sonic.
Yeah, man. But I mean, you can't. I mean, like, there's no way you could smell that if it had to like walk there. You know what I mean? Like, if it had to blow there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if it's a quantum property,
And
it's
then
on the
where can
hologram,
you,
which
how
means it's
can you
right next to you.
define, did the smelling of the fart occur at the digestion in the gut, or at the eating of the food, or at the release from the dog, or when it touched on the sensors, or when your awareness noticed it and comprehended it and then paid attention and made a decision that it had a story to it. So
Yeah,
at
man.
what point you can't really define it down. And that's where in that movie The Matrix, why like Neo has that epiphany when he realizes there is no spoon. You realize that it's all a reflection of the self, like in a strange quantum way. Yeah, everything that you're experiencing is happening as a oneness.
Carl,
Yeah, man.
I just want to say
Thanks,
this real
dude.
quick. I love hearing about how you've done your journey and how it's traveled, like how you've gotten to where you are, because I'm on like kind of that personal path myself. And me and Kimball down there do a Saturday like show randomly about called UFO Intros, where we do like based on like a guest with their life. If you'd ever be interested on coming on there, man, that would be amazing. Because I'd love to hear more about your following through the church and all of that. And I'll quit shilling my thing now, but you know, like,
No, that'd be cool. I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, I'm kind of been in this thing where uh did just film for a TV show, and I've been rebuilding my website, trying to make it so that some of these places, like the number one thing is I upload a video and everybody's like, how can I come and see these places? How can I come and do these hikes with you? And I'm like, I don't know how to keep everything open source and actually
well,
do that for people and not be a sellout, but I'm trying to walk
like
that
Scott
line.
Walter, he talks about that, Carl. He showed a lot of people places and they went and destroyed them. So at some point, I'd be worried personally, because for every person that's telling you how much they enjoyed it and everything, other people just want to destroy everything you love.
100%.
So
I'm
when you
trying to
tell
walk that
people,
razor's edge, man, like
dude,
every
when
day
you tell
right
people
now.
I can't show you this or I can't video there, I respect the shit out of that. Because just from Scott Walter's experiences and talking to him and stuff, like you don't want to go out to someplace you love that's beautiful with these ancient, Native American or even civilizations that were there before them getting destroyed by some jackass who doesn't understand anything about history or just even to respect history.
100%. Yeah, and I've honestly, even at a deeper level, I feel like part of my progress and understanding all this, and even my ability to communicate it out to other people so that they can understand it in a way that makes sense to them, like these big, profound concepts. For some reason, going to these places, I'm able to understand it and digest it and communicate it out. And I do not want this perception like I'm a chosen one or anything like that, but I do feel like there's a part of this that's allowed, like I'm somehow on the same migration that a lot of people have been on before, and I just tap into that, and I just kind of like try to explain it to other people. But yeah, I would, for me, it is life changing to be able to take other people and let them experience themselves, but at the same time, I don't want, I'm not really afraid of the criticism. It's more of like, which do I want to deal with? Do I want to keep it open source and available? And do I want to see myself retiring, like doing tour guiding and like helping do meditations with people and opening people's minds and working with these Native American people and answering these questions and stuff? Or do I want to like be afraid it's all going to get wrecked and just keep it to myself? And I feel like it's always just been kept a secret and hidden and put under a box, or there's a conspiracy around it. And there's this strange thing happening, the symmetry in my life, where I do have the support of some highly credible Native American elders from different tribes. I'm working with the Utah Archaeological Alliance. I'm working with local archaeologists on a dig close to my house, even an archaeological find that we had found here. And I'm really trying to do it the right way. And so every step of it is like, we're not just going to let people go up to Mount Wilson Ranch and run around. The reason that we're building in tours is to control it so that go do this little experience, go take a photo here, and we can actually kind of control where people are without having to just put a gate up and make everybody stay out with security guards with guns,
Yeah, you don't want to be like a Skinwalker Ranch where there's just dudes with guns running around. And Carl, I just want to say this when I get the hands. Don't feel bad about that, dude. It comes with clout. It comes with getting your stuff out there. People want to come see it. You're doing the right thing. But let's who was next, Logan?
It was me. It was Carl.
Then Kimball.
What's that?
Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, you mentioned about that rabbi. That was really cool. When you see the energy, when he started saying his ritual, you saw that when all the energy start lighting up, that was just like sick, right, Carl?
Yeah.
That was that. And then when Brandon shot that rocket off, did you see the spark in the sky? Like it was like a hole.
Yeah, and they've had that when they shine lasers up, it looks like something. Yeah. There's a lensing anomaly in the air. Yeah.
Then his brother drops. It was flying, and they dropped all the EMF meters, and then there's like it's like a monolith structure is like forcing those things to go around it. And when you take a picture of all the EMF meters they dropped, it's like beautiful because you can see it's like a tall monolith from 5,000 feet up all the way to the ground. Yeah, that's just amazing, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm not allowed to say much right now, but I do know I have been at Skinwalker Ranch and I have sat with the team and gone through a lot of that data.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been at Mount Wilson, and I can't say anything about that. It's going to be coming out probably in June. But we had the exact same thing happen in another location, and I'll just
it's amazing.
I'll just say this, and then if you have a question, but we did have a piece of equipment at Mount Wilson Ranch completely convinced at one point by its GPS data that it was in a totally different place on the planet.
Yes, it's crazy. Yeah, I want to see what's underneath that mountain. It's some crazy metals.
Yes. Yeah. It could be something to do with the geology. And then when the water is flowing through it or the aquifer, we also have some information that's been kind of leaked out from the Bigelow files from former team members that were disgruntled and kind of like stole stuff and gave it to me. But that there is potentially buried things and stuff underground that are actually transmitting some of these signals too.
There's a spacecraft underneath that mountain.
Hey, Carl.
I'm not allowed to say that, but you can.
Hey, Carl.
Shit! Holy shit! Go ahead.
Hey, man. So I just wanted to say one thing. You said something buried under there, and I told Brandon this that there's an episode I did called The Real Prime Directive. And in it, I realized that the 2022 Nobel Prize that was given to Zellinger, who did quantum entanglement. And what he did was he took a particle and he hammered it with a harmonic laser, a lot like my anti-gravity generator works, which we talked about.
Yeah.
And what it does is it pushes that antiparticle pair, that antiparticle. You hammer the particle with the laser and it shoots that antiparticle out in space. And so that's what Zellinger did. And then he did testing with locality and stuff based on that. And so, and even though his whole thing was different, he was just saying, look, I'm going to observe it. And the light speed doesn't have enough time to get there. And so there's a non-local effect there. And so, but what he did, but I think nobody realized was that Star Trek beaming technology right there. Because if you hit a particle with a laser from like, a teleport pad, and you push that antiparticle out to another teleport pad, and then you catch the antiparticle, and then you hammer the antiparticle, you will reel in the first particle. So you extend the one, and then you catch it, and then you hammer that. Now, this is not consensus, nobody, but it just makes perfect sense to me. I don't know why, but so that I think is beaming technology. You can actually teleport.
Yeah.
If you can figure out how to survive the trip, right? And so I don't know. I don't know how you would do that, but you can teleport a particle by holding it in a field, hammering it with a harmonic laser, and then catching the antiparticle, and then hammering the antiparticle and reeling back the other particle. I told Brandon this. I don't know if he liked it, so I know he read it. I know he read what I wrote, but I think there's a teleporter pad below Skinwalker Ranch. And I think the reason that...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think the reason maybe that, you get signals and people get sick and they feel all that energy and you know what I mean, is perhaps because people, there are things that are teleporting to it. Right. And so that energy is passing through you as it goes to that, it gets caught and then it gets hammered. And then that, maybe that RF is like, when they reel back whoever it is or wherever they teleport from, that could be triggering sensors. But I think there is if that's what teleportation works, I think there's a pad there. I think there is shit teleporting underneath of Skinwalker Ranch. And I just wondered if you've seen anything or can say anything that would either sort of like corroborate or disprove that.
I'll say...
You can't say? Okay, cool.
Why don't I talk about Mount Wilson Ranch? So let's say if there was because Jeff is the owner and he's basically given me the master key to kind of like decide,
use your judgment,
comes and goes and all that stuff with the judgment a little bit, but I have to be careful too. I would say, let's just say like in a
maybe.
Oh God, let me navigate this. Let's say if there was something underground that has been there, from our perception, if we looked at it based on the geology, it would look like it's been in there for,
years,
200,000 years, like relic something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the only reason that makes sense is because you're talking about some sort of like a time travel implantation thing, something phasing in and phasing out, but it's not. Does that make sense? If you can follow me?
Yeah, it's like flipping a quarter in the air.
Yeah, it's not there yet. It's because it's not there yet, but it will be.
Yeah, it is and it isn't there in a way. Yeah. But it's also interfaced and transmitting with certain places, constellations when they're overhead as well, like transmitting and receiving. And where it is almost like a certain pattern that has to do with that geology. So you have where the water's flowing. So like imagine like if you were like a deer, you like to go pick a spot to lay down and rest, to take a nap or whatever. Imagine that there's particular places that are ideal to sit for several hundred thousands of years and just kind of do your thing, like on autopilot. Does that make sense? And part of that requires a certain geology, a certain flow of water through the aquifer system that creates a natural electromagnetic harmony that these things, whatever it is, I can't really say,
Sure.
communicates to each other and elsewhere. And that has effects on humans when you walk near these things, if they're underground, to where you can't tell if you're walking into that resonance and it's just naturally opening up awareness into other dimensions of reality, or you're tapping into those signals or whatever is going on. And so you start to perceive things like, you know, prehistoric animals or extinct animals from the past, or UFOs from the future, or all kinds of strange, you know, even ghosts or dead relatives and poltergeist events, the whole spectrum. When you walk in that zone, it creates that sort of distortion, right?
It's
Or
adjusting your resolution of your consciousness.
Either intentionally as a sort of defense mechanism, or just sort of as a natural side effect because it's there doing its thing.
See, that seems like that's so logical, dude. That totally fits. You know what I mean?
And it also can create particular gravitational anomalies, lensing effects, and radiation that affects people above ground and through the whole gamut.
Yeah,
Hey, Carl,
100%.
I have a question for you. I'm sorry to interject, but I'm just curious because I only have like 5 minutes, and you mentioned archaeological. And my question to you is, you don't have to specify because I kind of already know, but I wanted to bring something up to you. In that region specifically that you're speaking about, I'm not going to give the name, but the Archaeological Institute that you are probably working with, have they ever specified anything about the what they call the Mesoamerican lineage project, which is it correlates with the Mayans, in which in that specific region it's where the pre-Mayan civilization was specified to had originated from. Based on what you're telling me about these magnetic anomalies, this is not the only place that I've heard this same story being explained to me. The fact that there's a reservoir, supposedly, I haven't looked at the geotechnical data at the specific site, but this also occurs in Egypt, which many people don't talk about because they're not allowed to bring these specific instruments. So if you're there, take the opportunity or tell whoever is that's using the tech to utilize it, because this exists under the Pyramid of Giza with the reservoir that's underneath there. You're going to get a lot of strange magnetic anomalies that exist, which I saw a documentary on Netflix. It's not really a documentary, but it's a show that I guess was supposed to be sold to the History Channel, but they never bought it. Netflix did. But that mountain that you're talking about exhibits the same properties that we find in certain parts of the world, like in Machu Picchu, Pumapunku, parts of Giza, and in Turkey as well. So I would just want to chime in and see if maybe is there anything that you can specify about that, because I do know also that that area is on a specific ley line in which these anomalies do exist, and it's there's going to be a lot of weird instrumental anomalies, if you will, that are going to show you different geomagnetical poles, which basically is going to say that you're here, but you're on the other side of the world. There's going to be also weird stuff like that. So just wanted to see if you can talk a little bit about that. That's it.
100% correct. You have to imagine that these guys in the ancient times and these indigenous cultures, if they naturally, you have to realize that this is a time when they were not walking around with cell phones. There wasn't satellites, there wasn't radio frequencies. They were 100% almost barefoot and naked in touch with the electromagnetic field of the earth, and following the migration of all the wildlife for their food and the flowing of water, all just completely a part of nature, and just barely coming out of that into civilization and understanding. And so as soon as you start to understand that there are places like this, it makes sense that people that had a certain power or influence or resources available to them that would naturally understand that system, the same way that maybe Tesla discovered in his time in his own way, these people tried to harness that and amplify it for their own means. And so I'm completely convinced at this point that, like, the people in the pyramids of Egypt were even using a form of archaic like telepathy or remote viewing, almost like a primitive Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, using free energy transmission through these systems. So they would go into these resonant chambers that were completely designed through these pyramids and these aquifer systems, and they could communicate with Chaco Canyon or with the shaman in the cave at Mount Wilson Ranch or whoever was in this other location. And so that's why you see this synchronistic pattern in the petroglyphs and the carvings. And it doesn't matter if they're in Australia or in the Africa or if they're in southern Utah or Skinwalker Ranch. And then you have this underlying story of the great feathered serpent that's almost like an analogy of the electromagnetic field and lines and the ley lines of the earth, this great serpent of creation that comes out, and when it rests in the water in the valley, it brings life and harvest and spiritual enlightenment, and you can talk to the gods and the star people and everything, and go through magical doorways. But then when it gets angry, the feathered serpent, whether it's a Chinese dragon or shooting fire from the sky or Quetzalcoatl or whatever, it's like a lightning dragon that goes into the sky and creates plasma events and destroys people and consumes the village, And when you realize it, that could be a metaphor or an ancient analogy system to that, what we're talking about, the electromagnetic field of the earth and how it affects human consciousness and communication, then all of that opens up. And I do want to say, part of my leaving Mormonism and getting into all this was because I naturally, going around hiking, was sitting on this one rock by these petroglyphs, and I was having visions where someone either in Atlantis or Egypt was taking me inside of a pyramid and swimming down in this chamber up into a resonant room and having conversations with me together and teaching me how this stuff worked. And then I'd have visions where a Native American elder would show me how these slot canyons would vibrate and do the same thing. And so I've had personal visionary out-of-body experiences that took me down this path. And then years later, now I'm working with actual Native American medicine men and elders that are basically dusting off their journals and books and stuff and telling me that I'm correct. So I don't know. I'm just trying to deal with all that.
Yeah, no, well said. Thank you for answering the question. I have one last quick question. Have you heard anything about, because I'm pretty convinced just on the terrain, on the images that I've seen, of there being a potential structure down there, because if there, just what I've seen and what I've heard from others, it would make a lot of sense if there's a structure somewhere under there, which was probably purposely buried for whatever reason. It would be creating these anomalies, and that's where you get a lot of the connections between the different cultures that we just specified. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm just curious if you seen anything that may spark, because just the few images I've seen in the few videos, it just screams, the topography of that region just screams like there's various things on there. It reminds me of Serpent Mountain in Ohio, for some odd reason, but yeah.
I am under the, what can I say here? I would say that if there was something at Skinwalker Ranch, it would be more like a sports model. And whatever's at Skinwalker Ranch or at the Mount Wilson Ranch is much, much bigger.
Take the leap, Carl.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl.
I think we got Kimball. Oh yeah, Kimball next. Go ahead, Kimball, and then Paul.
Carl, thanks again for being in here. Man, there's so many questions I could ask you, and hopefully I can ask you some of those when we chat with Shane. But I guess yeah, I'll just save one of those questions. I'll just do one question, and it's a little bit of a deviation. But what would you recommend to people who are just starting projects? I kind of feel like I'm in the same position as you. I haven't divorced a spouse, but I have divorced a business and some business partners. And so I'm in a position where I have resources and time, and I've always wanted to put that. I've always wanted to put like my creative energy toward a project or some projects. And yeah, what do you, both from like an emotional and like personal development standpoint, but then just I guess in the quote unquote industry, like what tips or suggestions do you have for people? Thanks again.
You bet. Honestly, you're gonna again go inward and start exploring like what that is, that where that seeking energy is taking you. If it's curious about which aspect of the phenomena you've either personally experienced through your life that you want to explore, and that might take you into a path where you spend, you know, a good 6 months just learning like meditation and like out of body travel and learn the gateway method or other types of things, and you really do like soul work type stuff. But it might also just be going out and actually, you know, boots on the ground or a unified approach with all of it. But my biggest advice to you is to keep it really, really simple at first. And like everything that you see me doing on my YouTube channel, all the documentaries I produce, all of it, I do with my iPhone. I don't dump a ton of equipment. To me, it's like the difference between working with a full film crew, like for a TV show, is like trying to mobilize an army to get anything done. And the whole experience is tainted. And there's something really special about just taking a small backpack, bare minimum with what you need, and then just capturing the experience genuinely as you go. And so start to have an eye and a mindset. If you're going to go out, if you want to do it like as an actual content creator and like to do documentaries or start film or blog it, then just pretend like your iPhone or your camera is like your sidekick. It's another person who's never seen any of this before. They've never seen it. They know nothing about it. And the camera is that person with you, and it's just you and them. And then I just go with the camera and go with that one person and go all the way into it as deep as I can get. And a lot of times when I pull up to a spot, I have no idea if I'm even going to find anything. You know, I'm just kind of going off of somebody told me to go check over here or something like that. So just kind of see what really speaks to you and keep it really simple. Because if you run out and start using 3 different cameras and grab a drone and a bunch of different paranormal investigating equipment, you're gonna fill yourself up with so much shit you can't even move at first. And so there's some magic that happens when you run light and quick, like special forces, where you don't have to wait for anything or think very hard. Just when you're feeling it, you can throw your stuff together and jump in the truck and go check something out, you know. And once you just go for it and you're not afraid of making mistakes or putting out something that's stupid or embarrassing, then you're on your way.
For sure. Yeah, not getting too caught up in the minutia. Yeah, I guess just last question sort of tied to that. What is your I want to know like what your editing process is like what your mindset is when you're doing that, because that's a huge part of it, as you know. But and then just last quick thing as like a shameless plug, if you ever need someone close by who has decent camera equipment, just let me know, because I just bought a new Sony A7R and
Nice.
can zoom in on those UFOs for you.
There you go. Yeah, there is a time and place for the good equipment, that's for sure. There's a lot of times when I'm like, crap, I got my cell phone. Yeah, it's a trade-off, that's for sure. Well, thanks,
I would
man.
like.
I appreciate
It's
it.
I
also
come out and carry cameras too.
it's also
Right.
not so bad whenever you don't have to carry all that shit up the side of a mountain, huh, Carl?
I hear you.
People want to go out to Blind Frog Ranch, and every person I've talked to out there is like it's the most hellish landscape of all time.
Man, I'm trying to set it up so that people can come and do stuff like this with me in a cool way. And so that, yeah, it would be really awesome.
You already know I'm going to be there, dude.
Right on.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Well, Doll next. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, thanks, Logan. Thank you, Carl, for this amazing space. Wow. I literally could ask you a million questions. I'm sure everyone here could. I didn't catch everything that you said but before I joined the previous space, but yeah, just so much good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. So, I, as a lot of people here know, I practice a form of, what people call astral projection, and that's often related to remote viewing, and the terms get kind of muddled
Yeah.
there sometimes. And so I guess my first question of two would just be, unless you've already gone into it, like, do you practice what might be called like a more classical type of remote viewing, sort of like, meditating on these coordinates? Is it sort of like that, the more, common classical type?
Yeah, it really depends on what I'm doing. So to me, they are a little bit different categories of approach. So like if I was
Yes.
going to do remote viewing, that comes with a very specific target and a protocol, and the package is like put together ahead of time, or it has to be totally spontaneous. Like somebody says, "Hey, I got something for you to remote view," and they just tell me like five numbers, and then I just have to trust that what they're thinking about or what they wrote down and hid from me is like done well or something. But remote viewing is very specific. Like I'm trying to go get information back from a very specific place and time and an event to gather data and come back with information like a scene. But for me, that's always very loose and becomes very visionary, what they call like a buy local experience, where I feel like if I'm suddenly standing there, like I'm in a virtual experience almost in a vision where it's like I'm very tactile. I can smell and see and taste almost like deep in my senses, almost less visual and more like kind of like lucid dreaming almost. But then so then it becomes overlaid where I have to use all these other Buddhist methods, and I have to use stuff that I've learned from a guy named William Buhlman, who wrote these books called like Adventures Beyond the Body, and stuff that Bob Monroe wrote. They developed the Gateway method from the Monroe Institute. So basically, are you guys interested in kind of hearing a little bit of my approach? I am developing a whole workshop on my website that I'm going to put out because I realize that a lot of people
I'm interested, Carl.
want to
100%.
know the
Me
stuff.
too.
I'll give you a basic rundown. So like if I was going to go to a petroglyph site, and I'll just give you a bullet point version of it. I would, before I even go, do a whole protocol where I like get myself ready, doing a meditation to make sure I even feel ready to go and all that. And then when I get there, I'll do part of a gateway method thing where I imagine in my mind and visualize in my mind wherever I'm sitting, like there's almost like a virtual reality overlaid on top of where I'm at. So it doesn't matter if I have my eyes open or shut. I imagine that there's like a box out in front of me that has a magic box where I can open the lid and like put all of my thoughts, all my problems, anything going on in my life that's like a distraction, anything from my personal life or from home or from work goes inside that box. And so it's just like a mental health tool to put all my junk in the box before I get started, right? And then I close the lid of the box. So this is all part of the Monroe Institute Gateway Method. Like that's what that is. And then as you go in through that, I get more and more elaborate with the visualization to where I basically have a whole room that has different things other than the box that help me go through particular steps. And part of that involves Buddhist chanting, where I'm literally going Om and chanting out loud while I'm sitting there. So I'm resonating up through. So I'm kind of doing breathing, like almost like Iceman Hof breathing. So I'm activating my pineal gland. I'm doing the Buddhist chanting. And then I have this gateway method visualization overlaid on top of that in my mind. And then basically the different doors and rooms that I have in that visualized space go to different places. And one of these doorways, as I go through the steps, then I go through a doorway and there's different, like a meeting room or visitor's room, if that makes sense, where I can put out particular invitations to invite other entities or forms of consciousness or people from the past or the future to basically come into that room and communicate with me or whatever. And but often what happens is I get going through my protocol in these locations, and before I even get to like step 10 or whatever, or even to the doorway, I get completely yanked out of that experience and thrown into something that I am not in charge of, that just gets shown to me or that I find myself in. And sometimes often I can't control until it's over. And then when I come out of it, there's been like 3 or 4 hours missing time and a whole learning experience where suddenly I realize a different level of what this all means and everything that we're talking about. And sometimes it is just like the place becomes haunted. And I just can't really go deep into the meditation, and it becomes more like the place is full of poltergeists, and then I just end up coming home and dealing with that.
That is so dope, dude.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, so much cool stuff there. Thank you.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff underneath that comes down to like the type of audio that I use when I decide to use headphones or play through a speaker, or when I use the type of frequencies and all of that. And I'm working on creating all of that, again, making it available through workshops for people to come and go through it and learn too. So we'll see.
Fantastic. Okay, so if I may go to just one more question. I've practiced the gateway method. I've got the tapes and everything, and just so much of that resonated with me. And so I just want to make a statement and then a question, and then I'm done. So I love everything that you've been saying that I've heard in this space about non-locality and holographic universe theory and all of these things. I'm totally into it. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of Indra's net from Hinduism, and I think that's another great ancient metaphor for these things. Yeah. So it's like they knew, the ancient mystics, they knew this stuff. They have known this stuff for thousands of years, and it's so crazy that it is so taboo in certain like Western circles. So I totally believe in that stuff, and so when I practice my form of astral projection, which I won't go into too much, it's more like it's just like you described, where it's as if well, for me, it can be very visionary and tactile. I can have all 6 senses. I can go to different places. And then, like you said, sometimes it's as if something is shown to me, something that I could not have possibly imagined.
Right.
And it brings up all these questions of like, well, people say like, is this your imagination, or is this some sort of like internal archetype, like a Jungian archetype? And at that point, it becomes kind of pointless, that question, because like, within this model, this kind of holographic model, there is no inside or outside. It's just all right here. So these realms that you can access can be incredibly, it can be anything. It can be like nebulous. It can be past, future, present. It's almost like a multiverse of possibilities that you can access through these methods. And then, of course, you can hone it, and it can go in different directions. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that.
100%.
Yeah, I hope that didn't sound like gobbledygook. So now
no, it makes sense.
Good. So now for my question, and then I'll shut up. So there's this person who's been on a few podcasts, namely with Aubrey Marcus. If anybody knows him, he's kind of like buddies with Joe Rogan, but he's like a really interesting guy. He's got a good podcast, Aubrey Marcus podcast, and he has hosted this guy a few times, Mateus DeStefano, who claims that he can remember all of his past lives. And I posted that in the Nest. And Earlier on, you were talking about like like it's not about being special or anything like that. You know, having these abilities. It's more like, and this is Mateus de Stefano. It's more like realizing that you are this one cell in this one organ of this greater body, which for whatever reason it has this purpose or ability, and is able to, in his case, you know, access all of his past lives all the way back to Atlantis in his case. And he sings these Atlantean songs. It's really incredible. And he talks about and so here goes my question. He talks about how, in his mind, a lot of these megaliths, like the pyramids and whatnot, were built, and that it all has to do with sort of sympathetic resonance, where within this kind of seafaring coastal Atlantean society culture, they would resonate with water, for example, and use water in order to carve these stones, and then other people would, other guilds would cut them, and it was all done through a form of like chanting, and you know, all of this would kind of make the stones lighter. They would still have to carry them, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I guess my question is, what do you think about what do you think about that? What do you think about sympathetic resonance and that being a possible way for certain things to be built like that?
Yeah, I think it really, a lot of this comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of the properties of physics, and also a total ignoring of the non-physical everything that encompasses what we perceive as physical reality. So like for everything, for every, you know, block of stone that you have that gets moved into place to put on a pyramid, you also have the volume of nothingness and emptiness around that block that creates the room in order to lift it. And I feel like those ancient indigenous people were more connected to and understood that other dimension of reality, that dark energy realm, so to speak, at a much more fundamental level than we do, where we're more hung up on the presentation of the hologram. They were more interested in the vibration and the energy of the hologram, if that makes sense. So I think, yeah, you're playing at a different level when you see the block as a 10-ton block of granite rather than seeing the block of stone as a manifestation that's procedurally generated from your own mind. And when you're approaching it from an esoteric standpoint, where space, time, and gravity and all that stuff are really illusions within yourself, then you're playing on a totally different set of rules. And you're approaching science from a totally different way that to us would look like supernatural, shamanistic stuff. But I think we've just completely lost touch with that. And in this weird roundabout kind of counterfeit way, we're kind of coming full circle. We're now through like the double slit experiment and all these other quantum entanglement experiments, we're now finally grasping what these people were fully immersed with, like as a way of life back then. And so for us now, we're still using things like an ultrasound machine to look inside a mom to see what the baby looks like. And we don't stop to think that inside that wand is a vibrating piece of quartz, you know, that goes back through sound waves and frequencies into a system that translates all that into hieroglyphs that we call language, that or whatever, that shows an image of what's inside the mom. And all of that is a spectrum that goes all the way up and all the way down and all the way in and all the way out. And so it's a matter of just changing your focal point and understanding reality and how it's all connected in that oneness. And then again, that's like how Tesla sort of was realizing reality was more like that. And this idea that we've been hung up on for a long time, it's sort of like we're coming to terms with like realizing that, okay, well, the world isn't flat. We live on a round Earth in space, but now all of a sudden we're like, wait, maybe it is flat, maybe it is round, maybe it's all inside a collective consciousness, maybe it's a simulation, maybe it's all a hologram, maybe it's a matrix, and now we're all coming to this full circle where we have to deal with all of those questions and our quantum entangled relationship with it all, really.
Carl, I just got to say, I think you understand these things better than anybody I've ever come across, and I just thank you, and I wish that we had not lost, this kind of ability to have to come full circle, but maybe we had to.
I agree. I think it's all part of it. And honestly, I'm working with the Native American people that I'm working with. They have a whole program called the Re-Indigenizing Minds program. And the whole reason they're working with me is because they've been watching what I'm doing, and they're like, how did this white man figure out all our secrets, is what they're saying. And so they've got a whole book they're coming out with, and I'm trying to help work with them. Might even be helping them rebuild their website. But it's this whole thing is coming full circle where this stuff that was lost is we're just now realizing what they were onto back then. Yeah. But something happened, either like a comet or a solar flare or something, to where it's like we got EMP'd and everybody lost their sense of connection with it,
Hey, Carl.
Hey, hold on, Sonic. We got Jamie with their hand up over here. What's up, Jamie?
Hi, thank you. This was a really pleasant surprise to. It was a really pleasant surprise to come in here and hear somebody discussing these kinds of things. And I went to your I went to your profile, Carl, to follow you, and then I started looking through it. And it was funny because just as I was recognizing a word that I had received as displacement in one of my practice precognitive remote viewing sessions, you said remote viewing, like literally, so it was really funny and cool. And there was the part where like getting in like a smell from, well, for me, what happened was it was like a smell from a future event, but it wasn't even the actual smell from that event. It was just a symbolic smell. So it was really funny, and very, very much like, I was like, wow, is that tight? And I'm looking around and there's none of that there. So I and I just good 3 breaths smelling it, and I'm like, wow, I really smell that. And it's like, there's none of that here. How come I'm smelling this? And then later on something happened that was connected with that smell, but it didn't match up exactly, but I knew exactly what it meant when it happened. And I even thought like, oh, I wonder if this is precognitive because it's not happening now. And so when the person who was talking, Sonic, was talking about the dog fart thing, that was so funny, like, because he was saying he smelt it instantly, and I was like, oh man, I smelt the future before. Something that's gonna happen in the future. So it was funny. I've been experiencing precog since I was like 15, pretty regularly.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff happens a lot. Like I'll be doing remote viewing or doing a meditation, for example. All of a sudden it's like the taste in my mouth, like you can almost do it right now. I mean, if you're thinking about it really hard, like it was almost like you could taste like cold, wet granite, almost like I had licked like a tombstone, like the inside of a block of granite. It's like I could taste salt and granite. It was almost like a flavor, and I had to consciously like push away from it and back away and have more spatial awareness and change what I was focusing on, and move out to realize that I was kind of like in the basement of this like castle by a river that was like moldy inside, but I could totally taste it. It was so strange before I could kind of pull my awareness out and realize it was like being embedded in the wall before I could figure out what I was doing and get a grip on it. But yeah, I totally can relate to that.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I can't remember what else I was going to say. So next person. Thank you.
Great. Let's go ahead, Zim. What's up, Zim?
Hey, me? I'm sorry, I stepped away. Yeah, Carl, I was listening for most of the day, and I really appreciate what you were saying about the stuff you were saying you were going through with your dad with dementia. I got a couple of friends that are facing that. It's just like, I'm 56. All of a sudden, some close friends. One's my best friend, and I've also had, like, before that dark night of the soul kind of change your look at everything deal. I admire that you're pursuing it, man, because it's so easy not to. It's so easy to almost just step back away from all that stuff and say, I'm just going to keep everything normal, you know? But
oh yeah, it's tempting, man. I get super tempted sometimes. I'm like, it would be really easy just to do RC car videos or do other dumb stuff and go something else. But I just feel like, yeah, like I have I don't know, a lot of this is just falling in my lap. I find myself responsible for it. So I'm just trying to do my best. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Hey, Alien Protocols, I know you're up here, but I haven't seen your hand up. Did you want to ask a question?
Does he have a peak ET experience?
A peak ET experience. Very vivid experiences, with the remote viewing and the meditation stuff. I know a lot of people don't consider those as valid because they're more like psychic visionary experiences that happen like in your own mind. But at the same time, those have been the ones that have stuck with me, or have even repeated or continued on, or even fit into recurring dreams that I had as a child. Some of those have been the most vivid for me. Straight up abduction experiences. I had one of the scariest ones, I'll just say, that was really vivid when I was young, was when I went over to a friend's house for just to hang out and sleep over. His parents were gone. So we were hanging out. We got sleeping bags and we were gonna just hang out and sleep down in the basement. And after we fell asleep, it was like this tunnel opened up, almost just like Stranger Things or something, down the hallway of his house. And instead of it being the hallway of his home, it was like just like a spiraling tunnel going into like the underworld or down into this void. And these three entities came out. There was legit three of them, and one of them was taller than the other two, and the two smaller ones were trying to grab me and my friend by our legs, by our sleeping bags, and pull us down this hole. And we were both awake and we both saw it. And it was like their hands were like a hologram. It was like when they tried to grab the sleeping bag, it's like you could feel the static energy, and then it was like their hands would go through your legs or through your ankles. It was absolutely terrifying. It was like the most vivid sleep paralysis, like half awake, half in a nightmare. But I was just like a kid too, But it was all of a sudden we woke up and we were both upstairs underneath the kitchen table. And we didn't know how we got there. And we both immediately looked at each other and freaked out. We ran outside into the backyard. And we both remembered it. And to this day, he's a dentist up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and he still remembers it. And I don't know what happened, but that, along with just other ones where I had missing time as a kid, and other times where it was like I was sort of like on a ship, like going through space and other things like that. But as far as like actually being awake and like fully aware and like actually there with other people, has just been times when I've seen things like more like paranormal encounters, like shadow figures that moved behind a tree, and then seeing like a ball of light move overhead and things like that right after. But I've never actually seen like an alien gray or had an actual extraterrestrial confrontation other than in those meditative visionary type spaces. But some of them are so real and reoccurring to where, like I said, like you can smell and feel it and come back sometimes with weird things going on in your house, like almost like, smoke alarms going off and weird electrical things happening, and for a couple of days afterwards. So that's sort of been off and on just throughout my life, but a lot when I started getting into all this stuff and going up to Skinwalker Ranch and around, become more of a regular thing.
It's awesome. Okay. John Strader, you're next. And you haven't asked a question, so but after you, I think Sonic is next.
Hey, Carl. Thanks, man. Great to see you out here. Love that you're out there doing the on the ground work. A lot of us can't do that, so thanks for digging in the dirt for us.
You bet.
Hey, so one of the questions I have, going back to the places that are sacred, have you done any kind of thoughts or research?
You hear me?
Hello? You guys can hear me, right? You never know what to say.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Carl.
I think lost control of his speaker. I'll just go ahead.
Logan, thumbs up with your mic, bro.
Yeah, you're cutting out too, Logan. So what I was saying is, here in New Mexico, we have a lot of ancient sites, lots of petroglyphs, lots of really cool ETs, some of the similar stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And are you aware of any of the sites here? Have you done any kind of, anything in New Mexico? Because, I'm telling you, there are some wicked places here. And one place that, I was made me think of immediately is a place called Blue Lake. It has a native name, I forget, but it's on the Taos Pueblo, and it's around 11,000 feet. It's way up, nestled under the highest peak in New Mexico, and it's a place where I personally have seen. I haven't been at the lake. You can see where the lake is from across the valley, but I've seen UFOs in that area, and it's one of their most sacred sites. They actually, the Taos Pueblo is one of the few places that didn't get conquered and lose their land, and the people were relocated. So there's still people living in the Taos Pueblo, which is 900 something years old. It's like the oldest freestanding thing. But at Blue Lake, they talk about it as a place where it's a portal where their ancestors came from. There's, people say the Anasazi left through there, and it's no one who isn't a Taos Pueblo tribe member is even allowed to go up there, unless you were like with a tribe member. They do lots of really secret, sacred things up there, stuff like that. So that was what made me think.
Yes, sir. I actually have a trip planned in April to go work with my Native American mentor and elder that's teaching me a lot of stuff, and a lot of his friends and associates. So he was, when he was a young man, when he was like 12, he got invited to go to like a powwow event, like a special meeting. And in that meeting was all of the head medicine men from all of the major tribes of the Southwest and all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. And he was the only kid that showed up. And so they basically raised him up, and he learned from all of the different tribes. So he learned from a Pueblo, from a Dene, from Pacific Northwest tribes, from Navajo elders, all like a bunch of different ones. And so he was taken to lots of different places where most people are not even allowed to go. And he's been taught a lot of things. And this man, for some reason, has picked to have me go with him to some of these spots in April. And him and some of his colleagues are the ones who have this ancient indigenous mapping system that ties in the stone circles and pyramids through all these locations and sites. And he's getting ready to publish a book. So yeah, I'm getting ready to go over to New Mexico. I've just been so involved with like Skinwalker Ranch and Mount Wilson Ranch, and honestly, I had to go down this path for these people to even be willing to even talk to me. And so now they're having me come. They want me to meet a bunch of other people I haven't even met. They want me to do some kind of peyote initiation ceremony with them, and then I don't know what I'm going to learn, but we'll find out.
Carl, right down Blue Lake on the Taos Pueblo. I mean, that is one of them.
Yeah.
They're probably talking about Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon. There's a lot of big places, but I'll bet you your guy knows about that, and just bring that up, because there's some really interesting story, and it's way up in the mountains. I mean, it's right under Wheeler Peak, which is the tallest mountain in
blows your mind,
Mexico.
right? Like, what were they doing up there?
Dude, well, I've seen things emanate from there, so from across the valley. So, and I grew up there, so I had friends on the Pueblo, and still to this day have some deep connections there. So, but yeah, man. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you're coming to New Mexico. Utah is not the only site, people.
Agreed. You agreed. It just happens to be where I live, and I'm a single father, and so I have like a certain radius I can go out to that's about 4 to 5 hour drive away, and that's about it. But yeah, I'm getting close. Hopefully this summer I'm way more established now to be able to go do it all. Yeah.
If I lived near Skinwalker Ranch, I'd get arrested all the time. So I feel you, dog.
Yeah, I've gotten busted by the res there. They kicked me off of Bottle Hollow. I almost got a ticket.
Yeah, that's the way you do it, though, Carl. That's what's up.
Yeah, I get in trouble. I almost got kicked out of Blind Frog Ranch. That's how I made friends with them. But
did you see any blue dirt?
No, yeah, the first people I talked to at Blind Frog was their legal team.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I did a bunch of stuff there they didn't want me doing.
You have there's Blind Frog, right? And then there's Skinwalker, of course, and then I think there's one called Hoodoo Tall, isn't there? Do you know that
There's
one?
also Starset Ranch in Texas is also crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
there's also a place called the Meadow Project.
That's in Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys in Missouri.
Also very interesting. Yeah.
Secret, isn't it?
Dude, Logan, your microphone is horrid. But yeah, the coast to coast where they talk to the guys from the Meadow in the book is insane. That dude turned into a ball of light on the IR and had no idea how he got there.
Yeah, I've seen that footage. It's pretty interesting.
God, that's sick.
Yeah, it looks like they basically, a group of 3 people walk into a tree line on thermal imaging camera on infrared, and it's like they step behind a tree and then they don't come out the other side. It's very strange. And then you can still hear them in radio contact, but it's like they all of a sudden stop talking. There's no radio contact. And then it's like a good 30 seconds later, it's like they just come back out. It's like there's a weird fold in reality they step through. And from their perspective, it was like they were in a totally different place, walking through weird vegetation, like in another time or something, like Jurassic Park land or something. And then they turned around to walk back, and they said that it took them like 3 times longer to come back into the meadow than it did for how far they went in. So they only felt like
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
I thought that was me. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, we can hear you a lot better now, Logan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
sorry,
we can.
my AirPod died on me. But yeah, so when they were coming out of so when they walked in, their perception was like they only walked maybe 10 or 15 feet, but then it felt like it took them 3 minutes to turn around and walk back out, but really they didn't go anywhere. But I've seen the footage, and there isn't a lot to it, but the whole story and the people involved is really interesting. Hopefully they can get a little bit more out of it, but
yeah, they had their friend pass away, and it kind of put a damper on it,
Yeah.
Really sad. They're all, just for anybody who doesn't know, in the Meadow Project, they're all like either retired veterans or in the service industry, like police officers or paramedics. It's truly fascinating stuff. I'm glad you brought that up, Carl, because a lot of people don't bring up the meadow at all.
Yeah, he doesn't really promote himself. He has the book that came out and he's gone on the show, but it's almost like it doesn't get that much attention. But I think part of what works for me is because I came out into all this doing like family entertainment YouTube stuff. I learned all the SEO stuff. So like when you see my YouTube videos are like all titled like UFO shot down or like secret portal at Skinwalker Ranch, there's a specific formula strategy that I'm using that gets my videos like more views and gets them seen and stuff that a lot of people in this game don't understand. So it's like I'm able to get my stuff out in front of people just because I kind of understand how the algorithms work a little better too. But that's all part of it. But that's why I mention it, and a lot more people soon are going to learn about his project because there is more coming out about that place.
The Meadow Project is meant to be. I know what's her name, Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress, talks about it a lot, about her team that works there, and I think that's the reason it doesn't get a lot of attention. Because I know she talks about how she doesn't want to reveal the location, how it's like meant to be kept a secret, because I guess it's meant to be like kind of untouched so they can research it better, without people coming in and like bothering stuff. I guess I don't know. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, all of that is why I'm trying to walk that tightrope of like, how do I make it so that people can come and stay in the rooms at Mount Wilson Ranch and actually go conduct research and do like particular guided tours without coming off as like a sellout or somebody who's just trying to create a little amusement park for myself to make money off of, but also answer that problem and not just have it be all kept under a secret. Jeff doesn't want to do that, the owner. I don't want to do that. I'm a filmmaker. If I get something, I want to put it out there before somebody else does. So that my intention is to try and walk that tightrope to where we're not faking anything. We're not turning it into Disneyland. We're not trouncing over ancient historical sites, but we're actually bringing in the Native American people to teach classes, bringing in the archaeologists and stuff to help set up the walking paths and to give the instructions and to help us create the instructional videos and handouts and things like that. And also so that we can do it all in a way so that everybody who wants to come and experience it absolutely can do it, but there's going to have to be a way that that's done in a controlled way, and they're going to be taken down a particular path to where they're going to learn things that's hopefully changes the way they approach all of this in a different way. And so trying to do all of that.
One way that you can do that if you're really worried about, because I mean, I'm not one of those people that worries about, people who are, making a little money doing something legit. It's when you're trying to sell some snake oil, that's when I have a problem with it. But if you're doing more of an educational learning and scientific study type of thing, just set it up as a nonprofit, because then people can volunteer, people can donate. There's so many things you can do if it's a nonprofit. You have a board, people who are legit. You can work with the tribes. You can do all sorts of things.
Right. I think that's going to end up being the whole plan with the re-indigenizing minds aspect of it. There's going to be sort of an umbrella that has like several different legs to it. Like we're even working with the Chris Lato's group to bring in the Sky 360 hubs to try and catch UFOs, like the thing that got shot down this morning over the ranch. If we would have had that system up, we would have been probably filmed it and caught whatever got shot down above Mount Wilson this morning. If anything,
Can you go over that again? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but can you go over that again? That was a long time ago. You guys were talking about that, and that's a big.
I just got a call this morning from Jeff, the owner of Mount Wilson, and he was like all out of breath and frantic and just saying that something got shot down over Mount Wilson. And so finally got him to chill out. And he basically said that he was like in his well house, or his cistern, trying to get his water moving and stuff. And like, heard like what sounded like an explosion or this sonic boom overhead, like a jet flying over really low. And so he like came outside and was looking around, and he didn't see anything right away. But then this lady that he knows, Kelly or Carrie, I can't remember her name now, but she comes running down the hill, and she's like, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And she saw like a white ball that she said looked, like it could be like a weather balloon, like a round white sphere. And an F-18 fighter basically flew and shot this thing out of the air, and she saw it explode and like pop in the air or disappear. And then her and this other guy named Clint saw the balloon or the orb or whatever it was, this ball in the air. And then they saw the jet and something that looked like an AC-130 gunship that flew over, like a 4-prop engine big carrier plane. And then another one that had like a shorter wingspan but a big body to it. And usually these people see stuff all the time. They hear jets fly over. You see stealth fighters fly over and stuff because they're in the flight path of like Nellis, and Area 51 is just to the south. But they were like, this was unusual. So whatever they experienced, they were freaking out. So I just arranged really quick and I actually did a live stream interview with Jeff and that lady on my YouTube channel just this morning, right before I got on here too. But that all happened up there just this morning, so I don't know.
Hold.
All right, let's get some hands. Yeah, go ahead, Sonic. You're next.
Hey, dude, holy crap. Okay, so here's the thing. I was going to ask you about like the pyramids and stuff, but this is way more important. So when you were talking to them, did they experience a gravity wave when the thing was shot down? Did they feel like something like kind of warbly kind of go through them, and were they just like totally horrified?
It looked like, from what they said, I mean, you can listen to the interview, but the way that she said it was like she saw the jet, like she saw this white ball in the air floating there, and then she heard the jet and looked and saw this F-18, and then there was like a different airplane had gone through earlier, so there was like a fog of like a contrail, right? Like a commercial airliner had flown through.
Yeah.
And she saw the fog from the contrail part, like it turned blue, like something shot through the contrail, and she didn't know if it was like a missile or what. She didn't see anything, but it was like something came from the jet, and then the sphere, the white sphere that was hovering above Mount Wilson, basically, she said that it looked like it just like disappeared into a fog, like just like a balloon popping. And there was just like this cloud of a mist where it had been. And then there was nothing. And she didn't see anything fall out of the sky. She didn't see any of that. And
so it didn't
then
get shot down.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. So they didn't say they felt anything or any of that. And then the two other airplanes flew over, the one high up and the other one really low to the ground. And then, but yeah, they didn't say that they felt anything or even see that anything fell out of the sky. She's like, couldn't tell if it popped or like actually disappeared or what happened. It was like, it just was gone.
Dude, that's so dope, man. Because it's a wormhole. Man, that's awesome.
It
That
could
is
be.
so
I don't
cool.
know. Well, I will say this. I will say that at Mount Wilson, I have had pieces of equipment that I'm not allowed to say too much, but I'll just say that we've got recorded data where we had a piece of equipment. It's GPS data recorded where it was completely convinced that it was in a different part of the world than at Mount Wilson.
So kind of similar to when they do the airplane in the Skinwalker show when it's showing that it's underground.
Yeah, but it caused total distortion. It recorded the data like it was completely somewhere else.
That's crazy.
The actual GPS tracking data, it went from flying, I can't even say that, from being at Mount Wilson to not there, to being at Mount Wilson to not there, and then total equipment failure and crash.
Oh my Lord. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it happened several times, repeated. Yeah.
But hey, so you're talking about those pyramids, right? And how they're all like linked and all that kind of stuff. And so my whole thing is that, like, I really think that we're an interstellar colony, right? In a 14 billion year old universe, right? If it only takes time for humans to go interstellar and we just got a reset at 65 million years ago, we're not the first. That makes us the colony. And so that's why I think we're a colony. And so when you say, oh, there's a pyramid under, maybe you didn't say that, right? Because you wouldn't have been allowed to say that. But say there was a pyramid under Mount Wilson, or say there was a pyramid under Skinwalker, and
We'll
then
call
there's
it
a
a structure. Call it a
yeah,
structure.
there's all these different structures, right? Well, if they're all linked up, that means that it's not Egyptians doing it, and it's not Native Americans doing it, right? It's if they're all connected,
You
that
say
means somebody did it.
why were the Egyptians doing it? Why
Because
were
because they're like the colony. They're the Egyptian colony. Then you have the Native American colony. So if an interstellar race came down like humans and colonized the planet and started these colonies in different spots, if they're all these underlying technologies and concrete and things like that, and these different societies evolve differently, but from the same sort of interstellar colonies type foundation infrastructure, right? Then you have
and maybe interstellar is even the wrong word. Maybe you're talking about quantum interfacing with the other dimension that's parallel, not necessarily out in space.
Totally, bro. Totally. And when you talk about it blew me away when you said the serpent, the winged serpent, like blew up a planet, right? Or something, or blew up a village or something like that. Well, so if monkeys go interstellar, right? In a universe where interstellar humans don't hit the exoplanet Earth with a rock, right? Then Troodon and dinosaurs evolve and become interstellar. Because if monkeys can do it, they can do it too. So in some ways, it's like there could be, and I know it sounds bananas, but do you find it plausible that there are actually like interstellar lizards, like, right? And so
the valley, this is how weird it gets, man.
dude, this is killing me. This is
this
totally dope.
This whole canyon that I go down that's associated here in southern Utah, right on the border of Arizona, this whole video series I've been doing, I went down the whole canyon. This is like my third time really going there to try and explore it. And the people that are teaching me explain to me what this whole canyon is about. And I'm telling you, the whole thing is full of these giant sandstone rocks that look like giant dragon heads. And when you follow them down the valley in the bottom, they look like they even have vertebrae sticking up out of the dirt, and the petroglyphs are all associated with it, and the oral traditions. And I don't know if that's just like, part of how they interpreted that valley in order to teach their myths, and the rocks kind of accentuated the story as part of like sending people down that valley or that canyon, like as an initiation, like to encounter those things. But I've counted like 8 of them down that one canyon that look like giant python or dragon heads coming
Dude, it's
out
not
of
an
the ground.
accident, man. It can't be an
It's
accident.
super weird, but you start sounding crazy like you're some mudfoot guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
totally. Well, so I did this episode called The Real Prime Directive, and it's the idea that, if monkeys can go interstellar, right, then so can lizards, and on any Earth exoplanet, like it's either lizards or monkeys that are interstellar. And so
that's the whole
the
whole myth, man, is that these things were like plasma dragons, like electromagnetic things. They were supernatural deities. They weren't just snakes. They were almost like a metaphorical in a way, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is,
all right.
like,
hey, hold on, Sonic. I gotta stop you, brother. We got hands up. We gotta get to still. So if you don't mind, go ahead, Randy. We'll come back around. That's cool.
Hey, Carl, that's the first thing when you drive up to Skinwalker Ranch, you see the cameras are facing out, right?
Yeah.
they are facing in to get evidence. They're facing out to catch people that are driving by trying to get in, and that's kind of discouraging. But like, inside that mountain, I know you can't disclose too much, but the way you react, you will give information to us. Inside that mountain, there's that object is a trimetal object, and the way that thing is layered together is off planet in a zero gravity atmosphere. So that's pretty significant, correct?
Again, let me talk about Mount Wilson Ranch.
Yeah.
Let me tell
I
you
mean,
this: with
I mean, it's
Skinwalker
pretty
Ranch,
significant. I mean,
with Skinwalker Ranch
and
comes,
then the tunnel going into it, big.
yeah.
Carl, can I ask you a question? That did you think about one day? Like, if I get asked these questions, I'm going to go to Mount Wilson Ranch because it's genius. I love it.
I have to, man. I have to because
and the tunnel going to that craft was caved in.
I don't know all of the details. I'll just say that, yeah, it seems like
I could jump off that cliff, Carl. I could jump off that cliff.
I don't know how much of that is true. I'll say that all of that.
If you mind filling us in on the story, because
wheelhouse.
I'm not sure what you guys are even talking about, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
You're saying hypothetically, there's like a UFO buried underground that's like.
Can I tell more, Carl?
Go for it.
Okay, Logan. There is a alien craft that's in the mountain that Bigelow knew about, and before he sold the property, they caved in the tunnel that was access to it. So they drilled in. Brennan, he had them come in and drill, and they hit it. So the drill bit kept on going around it, but they got flakes of the metal. And this metal is similar to the metal that they had on our space shuttles. But the way this metal is layered, it's off-planet metals, and it's like, well, we didn't find it, but it came by meteors. But the way this metal is layered, it has to be done in zero gravity, like in the ISS space station. So it's like not done on Earth. So this is like an alien spacecraft. So like he caved in the tunnel so that way Brendan wouldn't be able to easily get to this craft. So that's why there's all kinds of weird instrumental things going off, and there's weird. So go ahead, Carl.
So there's.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let me try and explain this carefully. When you're talking about the groups like Bigelow's team, and especially the bigger umbrella group that encompasses that, you have, I'm going to talk kind of cryptically here, okay? You have a right hand and a left hand, and the right hand is what everybody sees. And what the right hand does is always in the open, and you get to see it on TV shows, and it's all the public stories that comes out in the books and everything that's going on as far as like what's public information is all the right hand. Like, here's a team of people that are trying to answer the questions of UFOs and the paranormal, and we're going to go to this location where this family's being tormented by ghosts and skinwalkers, and we're going to try and solve it for everybody, right? So that's like what everybody sees the right hand doing. There's also a left hand that is connected to the same body, and sometimes is the same people and the same fingers, right? But it is a left hand doing other things behind the back. And the left hand behind the back, you have to ask why they were at all the places that they've been, and why that team is comprised of people who were coming out of Stanford Research Institute that were the psychic spies and remote viewers and professional people working for the army and the government at that time, clear back into the 1970s. Even before that, 1960s. Some of these people still work to the Stars Academy and are associated with Skinwalker Ranch. They've written books about it and involved with it. And some of what these programs these people were involved in on the left hand are programs that involve directed energy weapons. They involve implanting false experiences into people's minds. It involves creating hallucinations, reverse remote viewing, where you, like Inception, where you give a person an experience that isn't real. So you have the left hand doing all of these kinds of weird, maybe also almost unethical experiments that might even cause brain damage or other side effects. That's very questionable, that may or may not have went on the left hand. But on the right hand, you see the public side and all the other events that we learned from that, of what the left hand did. and what may or may not have occurred or what may or may not be real. So whether or not there is something buried under Skinwalker Ranch, you have to ask yourself, is that part of the story from the left hand or the right hand, and what's real and what's not? So you have to go look at the people that were doing the research, look at what they really were professionals in and what they were involved in, what their companies were, and where they've been before and who they were associated with. And you have to take all of that into account. And so if there is something there underground, on the right hand would say that there's more than one, and there's stuff, and they're connected, and they've been there a long time, and they don't necessarily stay there. They go other places. But on the left hand, you have to wonder if any of that, or all of that, or how much of it is all just a story and smoke and mirrors to get funding for specialized programs to develop weaponized versions of stuff to control this stuff, to control perceptions around it. So that's why I was saying, I don't know, like, if I even capture an experience, when I go somewhere, if I see an orb of light or a shadow figure, even if I see something fly over me, I have to be aware that this could be anything from a holographic deception to them trying to supplant using directed energy weapons on me, or it could be actually something buried under the ranch, and there could actually be something there. I have to take into account all of those factors and try to put it out on the table. And one thing's for sure is it helps to just like get it all out and talk about it, and not just try to live with it and sort it out alone. And so I have friends like Chris Bartell and other people that have worked there, that have worked in these programs, have been guinea pigs in the programs, that tell me a lot. I work with a lot of colleagues in different aspects, and at the core of it, I'm focused on what the right hand is doing, but I'm very aware of the left hand too. So if there's a UFO or something buried under Skinwalker Ranch, you have to wonder how much of it, which hand it's connected to. But I'll just say that from what I know on all levels, there's something definitely going on that is in more than one location that's very compelling to me.
Well, thank you, Carl.
You're welcome. I don't know how else
Legendary.
to explain it, but I have to be careful how I talk about this
I know
stuff.
it's wild, isn't it?
Yes. I have to be very careful. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that do not want me to talk about some of the shit that I know.
Well, yeah, and then the government was doing a grid pattern with their airplane while Brandon was doing his investigation. So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, what don't they want you to talk about? That you're like, F that, I'm talking about it.
The directed energy weapon stuff, how it connects with MK Ultra and the Montauk project, and how it goes. Everything you see in Skinwalker Ranch was the weird shit they were doing to Chris Bartell when he was security guard there. You guys want to know what's in all the Bigelow sealed files? It's all that messy stuff.
I mean, where can we like find out more about it? Is there a place, or?
It's all coming out. Chris Bartell just went to Washington, D.C. and dropped a bunch of files and folders all over congressmen's and senators' desks, and did a bunch of interviews just last week.
I know he was part of the people that were on that list with Gary Nolan that were his files were looked at without his permission, right?
Yeah, there's been individuals who have been pulled aside and had MRIs done on their brains, and then they go on the news and talk about how, people who have had contact with the UFO get brain damage, but some of those scans actually come from not from UFOs, but from actual locations that they're hiding, and people that I know.
I tried to bring this up with Doty the other night about, because Richard Doty was in here, and how those things are connected to my labs, and boy, they just shut the hell up as soon as I even brought that shit up.
Yeah, Doty won't talk about my labs.
No, they have technology where they can read the electromagnetic field of the Earth like an MRI machine, and they can tell everyone's biosignature and brainwave, and they can tell exactly where everybody is at every given time, and they read your mind. They can. It sounds crazy, but you watch as this stuff comes out about Havana syndrome, and you start hearing about terms like Project Camellia. Have you want to go down a rabbit hole, dig into that one.
How do you spell that? Like chameleon, but Camelio?
Camelio. I could get in big trouble for even saying that one.
Damn. Like I know that we had a guy in here before. He was like this nuclear physicist. He was working over at was it Los Alamos Labs, I think, and they were shown in this big like auditorium. They had like a big meeting, and like the senator came in like with a bunch of I guess guys with guns all of a sudden. Like they locked the doors, and like there was a guy on the stage, and they were doing some kind of like open surgery on some guy, and it was what they were doing was inception. They were implanting memories into this person and making him think something was real, like when it wasn't, essentially.
Yeah. Imagine if you could take what they learned from the Monroe Institute when the CIA moved in there and when they took over the Stanford remote viewing program, when the government moved in and weaponized all that, and then they combined it with their understanding of brainwave patterns, MRI machines, and they turn it into a weapon to spy on Russia. They learned all kinds of things.
Oh my God, I would love to go down this. Let's get to some hands. Kimball, you're next, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, Carl, I was wondering if you could go into a little more detail about, I guess, the NDAs. Like, what makes you feel the need to sign those? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I guess like
I don't sign them. I've signed one NDA with Brandon Fugel to go in the gate there, and he has given me a really long leash with that. Really long leash.
Okay. So you just I mean, I consider you
I'm
a
careful
journalist.
because when I start talking about some of this stuff, I'm talking about programs where they can, like I said, there's a lot of people with a lot of money that do not want me to talk about the
Go to
unethical
jail,
things that they did.
No, I understand the significance of NDAs. I'm just curious, like, I'm assuming you would typically sign those in order to get, information. But I guess what I'm asking is like, being like a journalist and having a channel and reach like you do, where have you learned to draw the line as far as like, you're going to gain access to privy information, but if you can't talk about it on your channel, it's almost like, does it just basically give you context in your investigations, or how does that all work in your mind?
Yeah, so it's like a dynamic thing I have to deal with. So it's like part of it is like I've just made like sometimes like people are working on particular things. So like a lot of what I just said there is a process that we had to figure out what was going on over a period of time. So it would have been too early just to say we figured out this and this and this when we really didn't know. So like a lot of this started with like Chris Bartell taking me to actually meet one of the original caretakers at Skinwalker Ranch and talk to her face to face for an afternoon. And like, so there's a whole learning curve I had to go down. And so some of it's like, so if I told that story about meeting her and I made a whole video about that, then she's a real woman up there that lives like in Vernal that would really ruin her life. And she's not really in a position that could handle the media and a bunch of people come into her house. And she's honestly kind of like freaked out and paranoid that people are already spying on her and weird stuff. And so I just out of like decency, I don't want to implode somebody's life by telling all their stories. And so some of it is that. And also there's some of it that I don't talk about because there's legitimately people that might end up getting pulled like before Congress and stuff, or maybe end up, there's investigations going on and things that I don't want to disrupt by giving the people that are getting looked at and investigated a heads up to where they can defend them, hide from what they've done. You know what I mean? So sometimes some of it's like, you got to know when to take your shots.
All right,
that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. I guess
I promise you guys, as soon as I can throw this all out to the world, I will. But sometimes it's like man, it'd be really a lot easier if I could get a TV show and then like get a lot more people watching and then drop it. Or if I just wait until Chris is able to go and put all this stuff out there, then maybe I have less of a chance of getting murdered, right? So there's some of those decisions that you got to make.
You don't want to hear the two words, Carl, national security, because after you hear that, you hear a pop, dog, or you drink some bad root beer. Do not do that.
Dude,
I don't know.
You start
You never hear the
around
pop.
When I get an email from someone from like Sandia Labs or from the Department of Energy, it makes me stop. I don't care who you are, but that's a speed bump for me. You got to wonder who's watching you, and when you get warnings or when somebody sends you a little free email like, hey, we're aware of what you're doing, like you navigate that differently.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if I got an email, if I was doing what you were doing, which I would love to be, but if I got an email from the Department of Energy, I would lose my mind. I'd be like, oh, I'm in trouble now. Because nobody ever thinks about them.
I've had some weird phone calls. I mean, Jeff, the owner of Mount Wilson Ranch, he's had one of the Rockefellers show up at his house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I have been in this for a long time, and I'm telling you, I mean, the paranoia is real. Like, I never signed up, put my real name. I mean, for 20-something years, until a year ago, like, I wouldn't poke my head up for exactly this reason, because you didn't want to get on anybody's radar, man. And so the fact that you're out there poking the bear and getting on the radar, man, props to you, bro.
Well, part of it is like you're safer when it's out there. When the more public you are with it, a little bit harder it is to mess with you. People notice.
Now, it's easier now. It was really hard in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I can't say that I don't go to sleep like fearing for my life or anything. Like some of the people that were even involved in these really questionable programs that cause me concern, I've actually even communicated and emailed back and forth with some of them and the ones that are still alive, So I don't know. I don't live and sleep in fear. I kind of feel like things are shifting, and there was a time when, there was that Ron Burgundy era of the 70s and 80s when people were just willing to get their hands dirty in a different way. It was just a different era. And so now they kind of have to live with all that, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's still all going on, but I have to take it into account.
Right. I hit the mute button for a moment just because I feel like a lot of people were we got hands up, right? So we want to make sure we get to hands. People are respectful enough to wait with their hand up and wait to be called on, right? We don't want to talk over them because that's just a little bit So let's just avoid that if we can. So yeah, let's go ahead. And I know Dr. Fred, you're new here. Did you want to ask a question of Dr. Carl Vibe here?
Well, hello, my neighbors. I am new here, and I joined a little late, so I would like to know. And hello, Mr. Carl. I'd like to know what is the topic we're discussing today.
We're discussing Carl and his adventures at Skinwalker Ranch, Mount Wilson Ranch, and petroglyphs, theta waves, how they control what you see in the astral realm, Native American history, all kinds of things. Right, all things you know about.
That sounds amazing. I do have bad service right now, so hopefully you can hear me, though.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, man. Ask a question before your service goes out.
Oh, yes. Is it true that you have not that question. So I was interested what you were saying about the paranoia is real, because it truly is real. And it's not really a question, but I like what I'm hearing. I'm going to listen some more.
Yeah, so Dr. Fred is a guy that is super secret and private. As you can see, he's not really, that dead person. But, he's a pretty cool guy. But do you feel very paranoid a lot as well? Like someone could come and kill you, maybe?
I don't feel paranoid. I feel like I think that it's more like a caution, a cautious awareness. I think it's just like, I'm still willing to go fish in the watering hole, and I know there's alligators in there. I'm just going to be cautious and aware. I know I'm swimming with sharks, but that doesn't keep me from going out. So I'm just careful with my approach, and I go with intelligence. And I'm also at a place in my life where it's like, it would be, I'm not really afraid too much. I'm already, sorting out the edge of all this paranormal stuff, like trying to, in a way, be unafraid to make contact with everything from interdimensional beings to extraterrestrials to if there are skinwalkers or curses on the ranch. I'm kind of approaching it with pure intention and curiosity and an open mind instead of with like prejudice that I need to be paranoid. And I do try to guard myself from letting this the paranoia and the fear that revolves around these topics and how it gets used by like media and gets used by organizations in order to get their agendas pushed. And I really don't like that either. So I always, in the end, when I realize I'm feeling any kinds of those concerns or disruptions, I always just return to those core things of my meditation that help me lose weight and help me get through my divorce and everything else. And all of it is just on a table out in front of me as something that I put in my meditation box at the end of the day. And I just go out and live my life, and it's just the path that I'm on. So I don't really live with the paranoia because I don't want to manifest that back into my reality. So I try to live just with gratitude. When I go up to Mount Wilson, I go up there like with music on. I'm like happy, talking to my friends on the phone, and I'm going up there trying to send out like an energy of like appreciation and that I love my life. And I feel so grateful that I get the opportunity to do this for a living and to share it with other people. And I try not to go into those environments with any kind of fear that can get picked up on and reflected back at me at all. Because if that's the name of the game, I got to be careful, like what ingredients I bring into the soup. You know what I mean? So yeah, I try to not go in it with fear at all.
I think I don't think a lot of people know. I know I didn't for a while that you used to be a much bigger person. You want to share how much you lost? That's amazing.
Yeah, I was 400 pounds, and then so I've lost like probably 180 pounds now, 175. But yeah, a lot of that was learning meditation. I did do a weight loss surgery that like helped. It wasn't like an extreme one, but it was like it didn't do a lot for me. But really, when I grasped the meditation aspect, it was like I became aware, like I don't know, suddenly you can taste the chemicals in the processed food because you're paying attention to what you're putting in your mouth, whereas before you're just kind of on autopilot with a lot of your life.
So yeah, Carl, I don't know if you know this about me, probably not, but I was 375 pounds at one time, and I hated life. I was drinking a 12-pack of Coke a day.
Yeah.
I was eating I'd go to McDonald's, dude, and get like 12 cheeseburgers and eat them all. And walking and drinking water and having a cheat day on Sunday helped me. I lost like 125 pounds. Yeah. But the thing about it is I started feeling so much better. Just not even just physically, but spiritually. Like everything was better. Just any interaction I had with anybody was just better.
Oh, all of it. Yeah. My whole relationship with the universe and within myself, and even how I look back on myself in the past and where I'm going. Yeah, it's totally different. Just realizing that you have the opportunity to make all those changes and just kind of, you do not have to live trapped in whatever paradigm you're stuck in. You have the ability to create the energy and the rhythm around you to totally shift your dimension and live on a different path. And it almost happens faster than you think, which is kind of how I really lost a lot of the weight, was almost using meditation almost like a self-hypnosis mind trick, to where I could do intermittent fasting and go for these extremely long hikes with just like drinking water and all this stuff, where normally my internal dialogue would have gone insane. I would have never been able to do it.
100%.
You know what I mean? I would have never been able to do it.
So, Carl,
But
I didn't do meditation, but I was doing jujitsu at the time, which is, I guess, a form of physical meditation. Really,
same
I was
thing.
focused on that.
It's all a flow state. It's either an internal non-physical psychic flow state, or it's an external active working flow state. And once you get those two on the same harmony, that's where it all happens, man.
The flow state is real and studied by DARPA. So 100%.
Yeah.
Carl, I wanted to run by my paranormal experience with you. I want to know what you had to say about it, if you don't mind.
You bet. And then I probably got to run here in about 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm not good, but you know what I mean. I guess you asked. I've always wanted to tell you about this. So, my mother had passed away, and on the day of her funeral, I was driving home from the funeral. My best friend, who was staying at the house to fix the food up and everything, was walking down the side of the road. And I pulled over, and I'm like, "What are you doing? The church is 2 miles from the house." And he said, "I'm not going back in your house. There's red streaks of light shooting around your house." And I didn't believe in ghosts or anything at the time, so I'm like, well, maybe he just doesn't want to be there, right? So I get him, take him home, go back home. The day goes on, everybody leaves, and I'm at my house by myself, and I'm on my computer playing a video game in Discord with friends, and I hear something jangling. And I have this curio cabinet behind me, and this key, a skeleton key, is turning in the lock. It unlocks the door, opens the door, which all this is a very, like, it was hard to unlock normally. So it wasn't even the right skeleton key. It was a skeleton key that I'd put in there because I broke the other brass key. The door opens, like, kung, 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 it opens. And on the third shelf up, I had Dragon Ball Z figures, and behind it, I had a toy RC helicopter that was super old. The wires were cut. It lifts up, levitates 7 feet across my room. Slowly, I'm watching this all happen like 3 feet from my face, and it's going away from me. Lands in front of my couch, and then 6 red balls of gelatinous red light manifested in front of me, spun in a 360 circle, and disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's like almost like time loops or something. Those types of experiences happen. And it makes you wonder if there's just like a wrinkle in our reality to where maybe whatever went and turned that key and walked through the door, maybe it was you like a month ago, but there's just some dimensional time warp that makes you perceive it like a poltergeist. And there's just like a weird time glitch where things get crinkled in that way, where we perceive our own actions as a ghost, or our own psychic interfacing is more connected with our environment than we realize. But the only other option is there is something there in these other dimensions that live alongside of us, and sometimes you get a glimpse or they bleed through, you know.
Yeah, part of me wants to think it was my mom, but the other part of me that studied this phenomenon so much feels like that there were so many emotions in that house that even if it was her, but maybe it drew something there, and it did that. Because I don't know why my mom would open a cabinet up other than just to show me there's something on the other side. But I'd never had anything like that happen again, or before then. I've had a few things happen. Like I saw a UFO, like I saw a 40-foot egg-shaped craft right above my head, iridescent, was just sitting there. I was in the middle of Little Rock, Arkansas, man. I was on a bridge. I pointed at it. People stopped their cars and looked at it, and it just blinked out of existence. And I reported it to Richard Dolan and moved on immediately.
Wow.
But yeah, so, and I've had like a couple other weird things happen, but I think it has a lot to do with us. I think it has a lot more to do with us and us being able to maybe like emotionally being able to tap, like meditation gets you to that state, right? But so would extreme stress, I think.
That's what I think.
There's something to do with that. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of experiences are incredibly empathetic. And manifestation, or I'm sorry, I always say manifestation, but I truly mean meditation helps you control that like inner energy and kind of protect it, and it's less chaotic. But before meditation, people who are extremely empathetic and sensitive seem to struggle with a lot of chaos.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't buy into any of the meditation stuff or anything, Carl. So I started watching your videos, man. So
that's awesome. So I know Sonic Gravity has had his hand up for ages, so I'm sorry about that, Sonic. Let's just go ahead and get to you real quick before Carl has to leave.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hey, Carl, you were just talking about your buddy and how he, like, I don't know, got cooked or something by, and dropped those, papers and stuff. Is there anything we can do to support him? You know what I mean? Like,
he has a page. Chris Bartell. He has an Instagram. He just posts pictures of his family, but right now he's actually a federal police officer back in his hometown, and so I've got him. I helped him start a Patreon page where he takes his photography. So this is cool. This is another side thing before I go. So he was at Skinwalker Ranch for like 6 years, and part of how he kept his sanity was he would go out hiking around with his camera and do photography, right? And he said that the spirit of the ranch taught him to take his photography and like do this flip vision with it. So he would like take a picture of the rocks or like a scene, and then he would flip it like a fractal. So he would mirror image it or flip it 4 ways and do like this kind of fractal vision with it. And he was just doing that like artistically because he thought like he felt like it looked cool, and the spirit of the ranch like was showing him that there was maybe something hidden there. And fast forward like years later, this was a long time ago when he worked there and started doing this. And I had totally independently my Native American elders basically teach me this system of using crystals and prisms to do exactly the same thing that Chris Bartell learned how to do on his own, just hiking around like at Skinwalker somehow.
Wow. Cool.
And Chris talks about, he says, when you tap into that energy and vibration of the ranch, that it changes you, like it evolves you, it upgrades your perceptions and everything. And so I can't remember what was your original question. I kind of feel like I went on a tangent now.
No, man, it was cool. I was just saying, like, is there like, what should we look for? Is there any way we can like support
how to
him
support Chris? Yeah, so
or
he
support
does.
you
So
what you're doing?
he shares that flip photography and stuff on his Patreon, and I'm actually helping him here probably in the next 2 months. Going to actually get his own website, and he might even move here to where he can be a tour guide and do stuff. We're going to be doing research, private trips and tours and things at Mount Wilson and some of these other locations across the Southwest where anybody can come and do it with us. And so Chris might come and do that with me and a few other people that have been on this journey with me. But yeah, that's the best way, just to go to our YouTube channels or our websites and pay attention to that. And like, honestly, anytime anybody comes and stays at Mount Wilson and pays for me or Chris to come and be there and tour guide, all of that is going right back into equipment and research and other stuff all over the place. So that's the idea.
All right, cool, man. Hey, thanks, Logan. Thanks again for sharing your space. It was really, really fun.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. Do you have time for one more question, Carl, from Jamie?
Yeah, sure. I can do one more.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to mention that I totally haven't heard all the whole thing yet, and I'm just getting into your work and everything, and so thank you for that. I love documentaries; they're like my favorite. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that you're mentioning like the Native elders and how many of the people are in this room were in a space, and somebody was like, oh, we were just talking about Native American people and needing more of them in the spaces or something. And after I just came in, and I accidentally forgot to mention that I have 8% Indigenous North American. So, but I was just looking because Ancestry, they keep changing around the percentages. So I'm also just over half Indigenous Arctic. So I don't know. I haven't heard or asked very much about any of the Northern people's UFO or UAP experiences, except for I know that there was a man who bravely went to the doctor and had an implant removed that was emitting a radio frequency, and that is on YouTube, and it's also on my page. So I guess I'm not sure what my question would be about that. I just was trying to clear that up because I know that you're mentioning the Native things, and I was I think that's to do with the hieroglyphs that you were discussing a little earlier. I'll just replay the thing. Go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
If you can.
I can talk about that. I think, the validation for me that comes from the Native American elders and people that I'm working with is kind of because of how I've stumbled across a lot of this stuff and my personal interpretations of like what the petroglyphs mean and on what these locations are about and what's happening at them. It's been really interesting that I kind of went down this journey for like a couple of years, and then they reached out to me. I actually ignored one of these Native American elders for probably 4 months because I just had no idea who he was. And he was messaging me and reaching out. But what's been validating for me is to realize that independent of everything that I've stumbled onto, just going out and meditating and hiking and on this whole path, in their own way, they've been doing the same thing, figuring out this ancient mapping system and network and how, like, from Mesa Verde to Blue Lake in New Mexico and all those places are all interconnected through a bigger quantum electromagnetic field that maybe even ancient indigenous people didn't fully understand, but it was just part of their spiritual day-to-day life. And so they were embracing it. It was their way of living for a long time, for thousands of years. And now we're just coming along like with amnesia, and even the Native American elders feel like they have lost touch. They've lost connection with the earth and with these mysteries. And it's all there in their writings and their stories and in the places that they've been and in the petroglyphs right in front of their faces. And they feel like they're just finally coming to restore it all. And I mean, you want to get into it, part of all this is part of a weird, like a Navajo and Pueblo prophecy and a Hopi prophecy that's all coming to fruition too. So, I mean, if you want to go down those roads, you can. But
wow, it's amazing that you even mentioned that, because I just saw that again the other day, and I had posted that in some places before, the Hopi, the third shaking of the earth or whatever that.
Yeah, if you go watch, there's a PBS special about the Hopi origin stories of creation that has to do with and Chaco Canyon. There's a Robert Redford documentary about the mysteries at Chaco Canyon that talks about everything that I'm saying, in kind of a different way too. And a lot of it is just a reawakening and realization of what was really going on back then.
Carl, thank you for being.
I got everyone talking at once again. Anyway, I just wanted to say, like, thanks for coming and hanging out with us, Carl. I think everyone here appreciates it. I mean, that's your time if you want to, like, just go, but I don't know if you wanted to say any last words or anything, or.
No, I just think that everybody's starting from their own place of interest and curiosity and perspective on all of this. And I think when you just settle into it and kind of explore it and not be afraid, just more to come. There's so much stuff coming out that I don't want to be like a hype machine, but yeah, in June there's going to be things that are coming out that a lot more people are going to see, and a lot more projects in place. So just stay tuned and don't get sucked into all the fear and the propaganda and the fact that, like, people in Washington and political offices, just because they're acting confused, I mean, that shouldn't surprise us. That just because they wear suits and they have big elected positions and stuff does not mean that they're in the know on the nuances of how these extreme sorts of phenomena even occur or what's going on at all. So everybody has catching up to do, so just be patient with it.
Carl, may I ask you one quick question? I asked Brandon for a ley line map, and I know he's extremely busy. Do you have a ley line map of the Skinwalker Ranch?
I don't have one that follows any kind of modern interpretations of it. Everything that I have has been driven by Native American elders, like
I just thought that might be associated with some of the things that are going on there, and they've never showed that on the show, and I know History Channel controls that.
It is. Part of it is because the narrative that is most advantageous for the history show is for the phenomenon to exist within the walls of their property. But when you start to tell how it's connected to this bigger electromagnetic field, then suddenly it's not just Skinwalker Ranch, it's all over the place. And so it's not as special. Does that make sense?
Yes,
but
yes, it does.
But all of that is changing. And Brandon is working almost like a left hand with me outside of the TV show and those boundaries to try and do this. And so That's why I keep saying there's stuff that I can't talk about that's coming.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, you bet.
Sweet. So I'm just going to keep the room open for a little bit longer to just talk. But yeah, you're welcome to leave if you want, Carl. And like again, I appreciate you hanging out.
Hey, thanks, guys. And yeah, if there's a recording of this somewhere, just shoot me a link later. I'd love to share it with people.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'll shoot that after we close the chat here in a little bit.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, man, it was great talking to you
Thank
again.
you so much, Carl. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
And I sent you that. Yeah, it's fine.
Cool. Good times, right?
That came out of nowhere. I mean, the interview and that was awesome. Very cool to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good times.
I was listening. I was traveling, so I wasn't able to participate. But a really interesting dude. A lot of interesting experiences that I so wanted to ask him some questions from based on my travels in that area, Chaco Canyon, etc. And did he talk about Serpent Mound? Anything about that? I might have missed that.
Yeah, he did a little bit. Does anyone recall like what he was saying specifically? And where's Shane? Shane would be the one. Not here.
He's not here. Well, I'll listen to the recording. But yeah, he's absolutely spot on.
I can't hear. I'll be right back.
What? I'm sorry. Okay, I'll jump off. Sounds like somebody's trying to talk.
No one was saying anything, I don't think.
Oh, okay. No, what was really interesting was, you know, the aspect of, sort of the consciousness aspect, as reality being more like a field and that everything is kind of always present to every other point in the field, right? You know what I mean? And he was able to articulate that in a way that I've never been able to, and I really enjoyed hearing him do that. And also about the Native American petroglyphs and so on. Like when I was in traveling throughout that area, I hired a guide to help. I think this person was Navajo when I was in Canyon de Chelly, who took me to parts of Canyon de Chelly that were normally not accessible to see some of those petroglyphs, and it's really quite amazing.
Good times. Anyone else have any like comments about like what we were just talking about or anything?
I do. I thought that was amazing work, amazing interview. That dude stuck around for 2 hours and 45 minutes and basically talked about whatever the heck we wanted to, and that was awesome. You guys asked all great questions, everyone. I loved it. Overall, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, right. Carl's like a super like down to earth guy. Like you can always talk to him about like anything. There's like a lot of trolls on Twitter that will like be kind of just rude, straight up rude to him on Twitter. So he can be sometimes a little abrasive. Maybe I think that's how Shane had his first run in with him. But yeah, he's a really cool guy, as you can see. Don't like maybe you're so quick to judge people on Twitter because it's just Twitter. It's not like it's hard to like convey like how you really are and stuff like that. It's not really designed for that. So it's really good we can have these Twitter spaces so you can really get to know people better. You know what I mean? Talk stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone else?
280 characters.
Well, Skinwalker Ranch is one of my things, man, and maybe it's my timing coming into this or my lack of interest in like the Oak Island thing or the, you know what I mean? I have a little bit different point of view coming into this, and I was very impressed with his history there, and his idea of what it is there, and how the phenomena works, because it seems to hit all those marks. I don't know, that was very cool. I know he pointed out like that in the show they had a rabbi kind of do a thing and literally had some physical measurements of like a portal happening tied to this religious aspect. And then if you heard Travis Taylor interviewed later about it, he says, well, the stuff they don't put in the show is I had this dream. I had this he had like a passion dream where he was bleeding after the dream, after a Native American youth or old man scratched his face in the dream. He woke up and he was cut there. Those kind of things. I think a lot of us can relate to that, man. Like it's the other side of the UFO thing, and then they're really doing UAP. They're like summoning UAPs, and immediately everybody writes it off. Oh, you could fake that with a drone and this. Well, I don't think they're doing that. If I don't think they're doing that. I do think there's a program there, and you hear him talking about it, and it isn't going to serve them to fake things there. I don't think so. I think that is a controlled disclosure. The whole History Channel thing with Skinwalker is a disclosure. That's what's going to millions of people right there. And we're all like, we're looking at these little things with an interview with 100 people here or a podcast that has a couple thousand followers. So I don't know, man. I was very impressed to see this dude. That's what these spaces do for me. Piece by piece, you hear these stories and you go, wow, this is so cool. So
yeah, go ahead, Alien.
Hey guys, love you guys. There's a few of these multi-phenomenal locations, and they really are hinting at the new physics, the new science emerging, and they're laboratories. And there are some people who have interactions or repeatable interactions, and there's multiple different locations and a lot of different really cool stuff going on. I don't think it's as put together and conspiracyized and packaged as you might think. Or I could be naive, although I'm deeply involved in this stuff and love it, and I'm very passionate about it. There's a lot to learn, and it's going to be pretty shocking, to see how humanity can accept all this new stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, Cartot.
Cartot. Just on the point of disclosure and what the sort of the mass media entertainment shows are showing to us. It's almost a kind of a sleight of hand. It's giving us a very superficial perspective when the real stuff is happening in the manner that what was his name? Carl. The manner he was talking about, where it's much more on the consciousness level. And, if we learn to tap that and, and like with the meditative practice or, so on and so forth, that's really where the real phenomenon is happening. I'm a little curious about what's happening at these Skinwalker ranch places and in terms of any sort of physical aspect to that. That's fascinating as well. But the stuff that you're seeing on TV is just it's kind of a bread and circuses version of it.
Hey, what's up, Carl? I haven't seen you in a minute. What's going on, brother?
Hello. I don't want to say anything because it's going to be very offensive.
Wait, what's going to be offensive?
All right. Well, thanks for coming, Carl.
You have something offensive to say about Carla Crusher?
I'm just eating a packet of these crispy things. Okay. So you know what I think about Skinwalker Ranch?
No, not really.
And I've C5'd into Skinwalker.
Oh, okay.
And
I forgot about that.
Apologized. Yeah, and apologized for Travis and Brandon's complete assholeness fire rockets at something they don't understand. And then the probe turning up at my house. So, yeah, that's all I want to say because it really triggers me.
Oh, I forgot about that whole story. You're talking about like when they were firing rockets into like the that portal that's like above the that spot, right? And you were pissed off about like them doing that because you don't. Why exactly again? Because it hurts the phenomenon, or they don't like it?
All right, okay. So you've got this high tech thing, and you don't understand it. So I tell you what, let's fire a rocket at it.
Yeah, I guess that's how we do things these days. We just blow shit up and then ask questions later, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, just. Oh, I promised them not to say anything. I was gonna. You know what? It's so crazy. How about this for synchronicity? I promised that I would not engage with Twitter anymore about this. But holy fuck. I just come in the room and that Carl guy is in here talking about Brandon Fugel and Skinwalker. And it's like, oh man, I can't.
Yeah, this is peak trigger zone. I should just cake you right now, probably, huh?
You should.
Well, anyone else got anything to say? Because I'm gonna go ahead and close it now.
Hey, just thanks everybody for coming. My app kept crashing and everything. Carl was nice enough to come in here and talk to us after I DM'd him, so that was awesome. We're gonna have him back on in about a month or so on Kimball's UFO intro show, and we're gonna go into like more of his personal life and his journey to where he is now. So just want to thank everybody again for showing up and showing him so much love. That was perfect, man. And he said some stuff that was blowing my fucking mind. So great questions to everybody.
Yeah, I wish I'd been in there earlier and heard Carl talk about the more spiritual aspects and the Native Americans and their spirituality on Skinwalker. I wish I'd heard all that.
Yeah, I mean, we had him in here for ages. Like, well, this recording is like 2 hours and 45 minutes, but we had him before that, like, I don't know, like half an hour maybe.
Yeah, thanks,
So I mean, that's a
Carl.
long time.
That was dope. That was cool. And freaking, we should wonder why we're just blowing everything up. So all the Carls make good points tonight.
Yeah, all the Carls are righteous.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, listen, you know, if you got some high-tech anomaly, you just don't fire missiles at it. That's common sense.
It is.
Do you know?
The human
I
body
don't
too.
know, man. That thing killed dogs. That thing's the bad guy until I see otherwise.
What?
Well, I've had nothing but good
that
experiences with skinwalkers, so that's that.
Dogs, right? Did you read the books? They killed those dogs. After that, man, I'm treating that like a bad guy. Sorry, I'm not worried about that. I want to see a UFO on a video for my TV show, so I would fire bottle rockets through it. I would. I don't understand the complaint.
Can we run some tests first, at least? I mean, can we like gather data about how this is going to impact everybody before we just go shooting everything up?
Okay, so logically, the Native Americans have been worshipping or have their circle, and they know about the skinwalkers, and this has been for thousands of years. So logically, you would think that the beings that built that technology have been here on the planet for thousands of years. So what right have a bunch of immigrants that killed all the Native Americans have
I think
So
I'm seeing your. I think I'm seeing where you're coming from. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't like that either. I know.
the Americans that are there now are immigrants, and they're trying to impose their beliefs on something that has been there thousands of years before them. So that's, to me, disrespectful and very embarrassing for Americans.
Not really. I'm not that embarrassed, to be honest.
I'm not either, but I get your point. I see where you're coming from.
Any last words?
I love you, Logan.
I love you.
I love you
Good
more.
night.